Hey, buddy.
Got me?
Gotcha.
Let's do it.
What's going on, buddy?
Oh man, it's been so long. I had to review my notes and make sure that we could keep up. I know everyone is so longing and awaiting these left episodes. I didn't want to come on here and half-ass one.
Can't do that. We got to give the people what they want, what they need, what they're not asking for in any way.
Our folks probably.
This is going to be episode 3, we'll call it, of the live Out of Left Fields with myself and my good buddy Joey Albsmeyer here. Just fun to have someone to kick it back and forth with. So, first of all, what are you guys doing? Trick or treating or anything like that, or Halloween or?
Yeah, this is I got 4 kids, and my oldest is in 5th grade. This is the first year that they haven't all done coordinated costumes.
Okay.
We like to do the group costumes.
Sure.
This is the year they've all split and gone their own way. And of course, we got a rare cold snap here in the Dallas area. So we're doing just some neighborhood trick-or-treating.
Yeah.
And then my oldest is of the age that now he wants to go off with his friends and do his own. So,
yep.
But fine by me, get him out. Like he has lived his first 10 and a half, almost 11 years attached to us. Like this is really the first season of our life where he's actually gone out and played with some kids in the neighborhood and hasn't,
yeah.
I don't have to throw 400 balls in the backyard anymore.
Now, is he of age to be a rascal? Does he have a little pumpkin smashing in him?
Oh, yes, he does. He's more, yeah, he's got it.
He's got it.
Yeah, he doesn't have. I don't think he has the destructive, violent streak in him, but he knows when he can sneak away and manipulate, and he's got a lion problem. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I want to say thank you for wearing. So, as a thank you for Joey with all this help, he's been so awesome to me throughout this whole process. I bought him Lincoln Land Baseball came out with all kind of whole retro series, bringing back kind of the old logo and old baby blue colors, and we were kind of talking about buying a shirt, and I went ahead and bought one to send it Joey's way, and he's wearing it today. So looks great.
The unofficial Claude Krasik Logger logo. No mustache, by the way. Of all the things that his memory serves him correct, I think he was trying to throw you off.
He was absolutely
Krasik.
He was throwing me off. There's no come on. He knows counts back from the 80s, and he can't remember if there was a mustache on the Logger logo. Come on. It's absolutely him. We've already got to the bottom of it. You're not fooling us, Claude, forever.
Yep.
Well, what do you want to talk about today, buddy?
Well, I mean, it's been a little bit since I've listened, but I think we just keeping in the normal theme. I mean, I want to talk about Casey's pods. I mean, it's, the more the names and the people change, the more some things stay the same, I pick out the similarities of all these guys, and but then everyone has their own unique story. But did he not have the very similar background as well, that you've got the neighborhood aspect, you've got the parents and the coaches that pour into him?
Yeah.
You can, different for him. I guess I went back and I had to look at some dates and age ranges and things like that. And it's like, I wondered, what is it like growing up with a big league, dad? And I was like, well, but he was young enough that his dad wasn't playing in the league when he was young. But, so then I'm like, at what age do you realize, my dad was an auto mechanic manager, you know what I mean? There wasn't an age where I was like, oh, my dad played in the big leagues. Like, hey,
right.
That's different. Not a lot of people do that. That's a special thing. But or for him, was it just always normal that, from his family that he had it there?
I think I thought he touched on at one point, thinking it was cool that when they would go around, people would be like, oh, that's Bobby Erickson, or that's Corey Erickson, or that's Roger. They played, professional baseball or in the big leagues. And I think that resonated with him for sure. Yeah.
So, coming back to it, did he say that he also grew up on the North End before he moved to Chatham?
Yeah, he grew up in Indian Hills. He's a North End guy.
What's in the water there?
Tell me about it, right? That's where they grow some tough dudes out there. They can play some ball.
I don't know how to explain it. Was there, what drew, was it something special that grew people to that area? Was it affordable? Was it safe? Was it an emerging area back at that time?
Yeah.
Or was it just, this was just a group of people, and because of the atmosphere that was there, regular athletes just became ball players. I don't know.
It sounds like it was just an amazing atmosphere over there. I mean, there's Finnegans and there's Ericksons and there's like Hewletts. Like these are all North Enders, right?
But I mean, ball players, right? Hewlett and Erickson's are former ball players. Like, what drove? Like, was there something about that area that drove them there? I don't know.
I guess they just grew up there. You know, baseball is a weird sport, right? Because it's kind of a sport of affluence in some ways. Like you got to have some money to play, but it's like if you're not familiar with the North End of Springfield, it's just a little more blue collar, a little grittier than other parts of town. And maybe it was just kind of the right mix of like gritty guys that had enough means to be able to play travel ball and still play ball, and like maybe you're a little too soft on the west side. I don't know.
Maybe I don't know. So as we're doing this, and I and we're listening to these pods, and then I go out into my community here. It's like when we keep talking about like what happened to that sports complexes is what happens. Like my community has a beautiful 8-field complex. 4 big fields, 4 small fields that they play softball on. Then there's 2 t-ball fields or whatever. But everything is chain link, locked up, and signs that say, nobody on without a scheduled practice or whatever. And I'm like, when did the shift from like a single park field or school field that was open to everyone at any time? When did all these sports complexes start coming in where it was pay to play and everything was scheduled and all that? And the light went off. I'm like, oh man, this is why everything has to be scheduled and organized because
100%.
we all are bound to these complexes that, which is great facilities, great experience and all that. But I don't know when that boom was that all these big complexes started being built, but that was it.
We always bring up Schlitt. Somehow Schlitt comes up, and it's a great representation of what you just said. Like Schlitt was a park that we grew up, or a lot of us knew growing up, but there would always be people there playing home run derby when there weren't games and stuff. It's locked up now. You cannot get on the field without buying a practice time. So, and it's really nice. I get it. Like it's turf and there's an announcer's box and all these really nice things. So I get maybe shielding the public from it on some level, but it's kind of sad too. Like I wish guys could still be out there playing home run derby.
Yeah, agree. I mean I don't know. I'm not going to go join our parks board and petition to get open fields, but like
I think that's just the way it is now. Yeah.
I wish it was like that too. Like even in my neighborhood, we have like little area playgrounds and things like that. And I just think back that there used to be a ball field next to the playground equipment, and now it's just it's all become organized. Anyway,
totally.
So cool to see the similarity there. One thing that I did want to just kind of talk about with Casey was it's very rare to have a breaking pitch at a young age. And also so I was wondering, did his mental approach to pitching change at a young age? Like everybody else, when you're coming up and you're young and you face somebody with a breaking ball, maybe for the first time, you're probably not expecting it until it's like 0-2, right? And that's the first kind of mental approach that you get as a kid. Maybe when you just first got into kid pitch, I mean, you're just up there trying not to swing at something over your head or in the dirt. I wonder from his aspect, like, was he challenged at a really young age, knowing that he had more than one pitch? Did the psychology of the game come into him other than just throwing strikes or throw the curveball when coach or dad calls for it from the dugout? I wonder if that ever came to him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think you could look at all kinds of angles. I mean, I think from what we learned about Casey, it sounded like he had like supreme confidence in himself and in his abilities, and maybe it sounds like he had that from a very young age. And I'm obviously being nurtured by Roger Erickson and Bob and Corey and all these people inspires confidence that you're getting the best tutelage, all these things. And, him being able to throw curveball for strikes at a young age absolutely would probably bode well for your confidence. I mean, can you imagine a 9-year-old spinning curves for a strike? I mean,
no, that's no. Sometimes I like to do it to my kid. Like right now I'm coaching a 9U coach pitch team that my son is on. And man, I'm tempted every time they get up there and some kid hits 2 or 3 good ones in a row. I think to myself, I'm like, I should flip him a little spinner right now just to humble him.
Ultimate humbler.
No one is considering it. No, they're not approaching it.
If you have anything decent in Little League curveball wise around that like 10, 11, 12, I mean, you can sit a lot of people down quickly.
I mean, and I was never, you know, I never had that sophisticated of a mental approach at the plate, anyway, certainly not at a young age either. So, I mean, I would have been twisted into a pretzel if he's throwing breaking balls, anything besides 0-2.
Yeah. Yep.
And then
For sure.
even if I'm thinking back too, it was almost like um, it would have worked in his favor to throw me a breaking ball in an account where I was looking for it, because I would have just been vilified in my mind to see the spin, and I probably would have swung. Like if I would
Yeah.
have picked up the spin and I was thinking curveball, he could have bounced it and I would have swung through it anyway, just because I was thinking curveball and then saw the spin. So,
Yeah. And that
but I
dude had a
do
great
remember.
curveball too. Like even when he got older, he could always snap it for strikes. He could bury it when he wanted to. Just like complete control of that thing.
Yeah, I do remember. I don't. So I was. Man, what year was it? What do you remember? What year he graduated high school?
He'd be 04. He's 1 year younger than me.
Oh, four. Okay, so I would have been a junior in high school when he was a freshman,
Hmm.
and I'm pretty sure he pitched against us in Plains. And even at that time, he had a little bit of mystique around him, and Greer wanted to make sure that we all took it very seriously. So
Sure.
even though I wasn't, familiar with him before that or anything, obviously when Chatham comes and they've got kids that can play, you certainly take notice. But I
Yeah.
do remember him pitching against us. Now, again, when he was just a freshman, he wasn't obviously bringing, the stuff that he did when he got a little bit older. But
Yeah.
I do remember just the faintest memory of thinking that even though I wasn't blown away by his stuff for a freshman, I remember just thinking how in control he was of everything.
Yeah.
'Cause like when I played as a freshman, I was just scared, running around, chicken with your head cut off
Sure.
type thing. And I was just athletic enough to luck into some spots. But even at a very young age, I remember thinking how composed he was. And just at that time, you kind of thought to yourself, "Wow, if that's kind of how he's playing as a freshman, he's gonna be pretty good."
100%. And like composure is a great word to use when it comes to Casey, because I never remember him showing much emotion on the field, just always doing his thing. Like he always had his hat pulled down real low. Like you didn't see much but like nose and mouth, and he wasn't giving you much there. And then he was just going to mow you down. And
Yeah, I know you and I texted about this. Probably the funniest thing of the whole time was was him telling. I don't know what game it was. I'm sorry, I'm bouncing around here. Whatever game it was, where he told all of his teammates, like, guys,
oh, that's
let's take
perfect.
the high road. Let's take the high road. Everybody be respectful in the line. Nobody show their ass. All this. Coach, he says something to him, and he turns around, tells him to F himself. Like, that's
Yeah.
the funniest setup and like
Wasn't it?
snap moment. That's like, you can want to do the right thing and take the high road as much as you want until you're faced in the moment that you're like, you know what? No, you're getting it.
I love that he was willing to talk about that too,
Yeah,
because
me too.
like he is in a position as a head coach at Glenwood where he could have pulled back some with some of his stories and what he wanted to talk about. But I even ran that story by him before we ever talked. I said, "Hey,
Yeah.
I think this was really funny. Can we share it?" And he was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So I give that man kudos for willing to be open about some of his things and show that he's not perfect and he took his lumps too.
Yeah. Yeah. That's very relatable too.
Sure, absolutely.
Right. The other thing I think that I really liked about him is, I mean, not just playing career, but how he's transitioning and how he mentioned that he's dedicated to like pouring into young kids in their community and kind of keeping them together.
Yeah,
Obviously, as much as their Diamond Kings group all stayed together and then played together and stuck through, of all the things that we've talked about with travel ball and select teams and all that, I love hearing about pouring into a community
yeah,
and keeping those kids together rather than it just being a different all-star team from year to year with kids jumping ship because they want to play a different base or they want
yep.
to, this friend group is now friends with that friend group and all that. So, gosh, I don't know if how valuable. Hopefully, the parents in that community understand how valuable that is.
Yeah, it sounds like they're doing it different out in Chatham than they are doing in other places. They talked about this Chatham Braves kind of organization that's kind of like a traveling team organization that starts young and you just keep building up the ranks. It's not like you go to top tier this year, you're in Arsenal this year, you're at Tribe this year, you're at Extreme Elite next year, all these different programs around here. It's just they stay in their community, in their program, and that's cool. Obviously, Casey valued what he did with the Diamond Kings, and that continued the same players, the same people, and
like I picture myself there. The top of the top, the absolute most talented, the best will rise to the top, and they'll be seen and noticed and all that. But your next sort of tier of guys are going to benefit from that type of thing all the way through. Someone who's not quite good enough to be invited to other teams, but if you get that consistent atmosphere and development year after year, like that's going to pay off so much when they get to school.
Oh yeah. And dude, it's crazy the number of people that we would know that were baseball dudes from around our age that have moved out to Chatham. Like if you go on there, like Chatham, there's a Chatham Braves website or whatever.
Yeah.
And you look at all the assistant coaches, it's like, oh yeah, played with him, played against him, knew him. Yeah. He was good. He played pro ball. He played college ball. Like it's crazy. So like, Casey said it's a good problem to have all these guys coming out there, but there's only so many guys that could be on a field too, So I wonder if guys will eventually move away.
Yeah. Right after I listened to his second episode, I think I was texting you, and I was like, man, that for whatever reason, that did give me a little nostalgia that my kids here aren't getting that experience that I had, growing up there. Yep. It did make me miss Central Illinois a little bit, and just kind of, now that we've had PJ on and Casey and all that, and I think to myself, I'm like, man, I have, some of those connections and some of those ties there that like, I understand the path and I know where they would go, as opposed to where I live now. It's like, I've coached them for some seasons and like, they're bouncing around to a couple of teams but every team that they go to, no matter what sport, I kind of sit on the side and, kind of shrug my shoulders, and I'm like, oh, that's not how I would do it. But I'm not. But it's like I'm also don't have the time or effort to jump in and start my own organization and all that. And so it did make me long for the Central Illinois, nostalgia of growing up, and just how, either lucky we were or fortunate, or now the whole second generation of it. I kind of paused for a second, and I'm thinking, man, how nice would it be to have my kids in that second generation of athletes coming through?
Yeah, it's really cool to hear. And it sounds like, Casey's got some studs coming up, and like it would be stupid to even go through all the names, but like there's tons of guys from our era that are out there in Chatham. Wish you were here too, buddy. It'd be nice to have Joey back in the community.
I'm not sure my kids would even make it. He's I don't know. We'll see. They'll be fine.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, more about him. Let me get some stuff that I don't want to leave out here.
Yeah, let's get it all.
Okay, so jumping right to, when he, and I hate to leave things out here, but one thing that really stood out is, when he's at SCI and they get to that game in Arizona, that whether he said that the gun was lighting up high that day or whatever, but he was 93, 94 into the late innings. But he did say that it felt different that day.
Yeah.
I know that there are some days that you show up to the park and things like you're seeing the ball better. Yeah. Like everything that you hit seems to be finding a hole. Every jump, in the outfield, you seem to be making the right route. Like, I wonder if it was torture for him to feel that good that one day.
Right.
And then, are you for the rest of your career chasing how that day felt? Like that would drive me insane. I would have to I would have to wake up at the same time. I would have to wear the same clothes. I'd have to do the same. I would be chasing that moment, like that feeling. Like, okay, if that's as good as I can play, how do I get back there?
I totally agree.
What was so magical about that one day that you got to get back to that?
That's a fantastic point, and it sounds like it did some interesting things for him too. Like it kind of like got him back on the map draft wise, but like you said, like he sounds like he kind of regressed back to more of like a low 90s 90 guy after that.
And the weather and all that as soon as he got back home, but
it didn't sound like he ever really got back to that, touching 94, 95, and that totally would be it. I can remember days, where I did things on the field where I'm like, how did I do that? Let me give you a perfect example here. This is a Joey Albsmeyer story.
Okay.
Remember your second year at Lincoln Land? Like we were treated so well at Lincoln Land. We would always go down to New Orleans and Florida. And it was like New Orleans was our first trip, I believe. And I want to say like the first or second game, you hit like a tank opposite field.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, like Joey's about to have a year. Like this dude's about to go off. Like he's hitting opposite field tanks when it's like 50 degrees out. Like, okay, Joey, go off. But I mean, did you hit another tank that year?
But maybe one. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like I don't know if that's if I can remember thinking it does. Like when you like when something like that happens, you're like, oh, that's I can do that.
Yeah.
That if that can just be me every day, like that's
Right.
where it should be. But yeah, the
Yeah.
consistency is such a huge thing that you're never as good as you think you are. You're never as bad as you think you are. But I
Yeah.
do like, yes, chasing that feeling. It's like in golf too, right? Like you hit one flush shot in golf, and you're like, there, I can do it.
I
Why can't
can.
I do this every time?
That's what
Yeah,
keeps you coming back. Yeah.
yeah, consistency is so difficult.
Yeah. I wonder how difficult that was for him coming to terms with that. Or was he always chasing it? Like, I've got 94 in me. Where is it? Like, why can't I
Right.
unlock it again?
Yep, that would absolutely drive me nuts. I mean, but he actually see where I didn't have it was I didn't put steps in place to like improve my body or skill or anything.
Yeah.
I just tried to do, stupid shit like eating the same thing or wearing the same clothes.
Basketball, wearing basketball shorts like PJ.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
secret.
like it was some magical spell out there that I just need to recapture.
Well, there's a lot of magic in baseball, so I can see why you would go down that line of thinking a little bit to some degree.
Yeah. No, that was
Yeah, totally.
love hearing that. Love hearing that that he wanted to continue to play with his teammates. That's a special thing.
Sure.
I wonder. So I wonder. Look now, looking back, he did. So he drafted twice.
Yep.
Obviously passed on the first one, which was with the Cubs, right? Which was his
Yeah.
dream favorite team growing up,
Sure.
but didn't think he was quite ready.
Right.
Ended up with the Yankees, which by all regards, I think everyone knows that the Yankees is an amazing organization. But
Yep.
I wonder if he ever has any regrets now that if he would have, like, does he ever wonder that if he would have chased the Cubs, like
Yeah.
having that magical moment on Wrigley? And not that he could ever go back, but I wonder what his thoughts are on, if he could go back at, all things considered now, would you flip it and wish that you could have gone through the Cubs organization?
I think you have to. That's something he has to ponder. Like if you're a human with human nature, you're going to wonder how would that have worked out? Would that have been better for me? I know in some of our conversations off the actual air, he mentioned that maybe New York didn't really value him in the way that he would have liked to have been valued, especially with the numbers he was putting up. And maybe they didn't really see any kind of a ceiling for him really, really moving forward. So of course, maybe, you get with a different organization, they value you. A coach likes you. They see a future for you. I'm sure he looks back and wonders because he produced. Yeah. So that's probably always going to be something that he has to grapple with.
And something that was also interesting that I thought when he was telling his story from stage to stage, he never seemed panicked or worried that he wouldn't continue to develop at the next stage.
Yeah,
like he wasn't panicked at a young age that he wasn't in as good a physical shape as everyone. Like I think he mentioned being skinny fat or pudgy or whatever.
Yep.
But then it was just like he was never in any hurry to prove himself at any one level. He always was just like, at least this is what I perceived from telling the story. Like all he needed to do was to get to the next season and he was going to perform better in the next season. Where, some of the other stories that we've heard was almost like, hey, I captured lightning in a bottle when, this season, and then I really pressed the next season and probably didn't perform as well because I put too much pressure on myself. Yeah. It never felt to me like he was too worried that, that season ended and that was kind of my shot. And now I'm not sure if I'll do well or not next year. He always seemed like he was, just no sweat. He was always going to continue to develop at the rate he was ready to develop at.
I wonder, that's interesting what you can attest that to, is that just like his birthright? He was just born into this baseball family, this legacy?
Yeah, I thought that too, because it's like, when you compare now to all the parents that want, they want their kid to be the best on the 8U travel team, when obviously we know that, so much changes after puberty and into high school and things like that. But, you would think in a family like that you would have the pressure to just be a world beater at every single age group you were there. But in the tone of his voice and in the way he told the stories, it was never like, I mean, I know they were crushed when they didn't win and they all played the Indian ball on the field. Like I remember having those, we won, a couple of state titles as well too. And like, I remember what it feels like to lose when you know that you were the better team out there and you're like, man, this is not how
Sure.
the journey was supposed to go. Because we've been on the other side of it too. Like we've lucked out and kind of squeaked through some games and thought, oh man, that easily, like what a magical run we had and all these great memories. And, a ball bounce here, a ball bounce there, and we don't have those memories whatsoever. So that's a strong thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. What
Yeah.
what other notes you got there?
So I guess does he? I wonder how much or like I don't want to say coaching, but obviously he coaches the kids. But like, is there a level of patience with the parents that he coaches now? Just be like, look, it's okay if your son doesn't come out, as a freshman or sophomore and are on all these recruiting lists.
Yeah, good point.
Does he go to the parents and just be like, look, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Like, here's where we want to be by this year. Like, don't panic and jump to this team or
Yeah,
you don't overdo it with, 4 bullpens a week in the off season because they're not throwing hard as this person or that person. Like, I wonder if he transcribes his patience and his development schedule onto the parents that says, listen, we're building something.
yeah.
Trust me. It's okay if you're not there yet, type thing.
There has to be a level of confidence that the parents have in him just from what he's done and accomplished, right? Being a pro, being from this Erickson family, like he understands process of getting to where you need to be, of what you need to do to get there. Like I would feel so confident, putting my son, if he were to ever play for Casey, under his umbrella, like I've said, and just trust him because I know a lot of high school coaches get flack back. They get questioned. They get parents in their office wondering why Timmy isn't playing because he should play or this or that, or there's conflicts. So I would hope he has a little more respect or has earned some respect from his parents just for what he's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know it's a tough thing, man.
Sure.
You've got kids on, recruiting reports and scouting reports and Instagram pages. And, it's almost become like a promo race or a hype train to see who can get the most stuff out there.
Yeah.
You lose sight of, winning culture and what that teaches you. And so I hope they have that.
Man, I don't know why this made me think of this, but I see all these like young guys, more so football than anything, but I see it in baseball too. These like young athletes that are ranked going on these recruiting visits, and these schools are like putting them in full gear and like doing photo shoots.
Oh yeah.
Are you seeing this? They're like in every jersey. It's like,
yeah,
man.
But listen, I got to admit, like I look at that, I think to myself, I'm like, damn, I wish I'd have had that.
Exactly, I'm jealous. That's awesome. I wish I would have got that experience, back in the day. That would have been so cool.
Yeah,
they're even doing that like at Lincoln Land. I mean, it's not like it's just D1 schools. Like Lincoln Land does that now. Shout out to Hannah Worth is doing an incredible job out there with like media and stuff like that.
Yeah. I had I had Bruce Richards pull me aside after a game my freshman year and tell me, we got a full ride for you, buddy, if you're ready to sign. I was like, I'm like 14 years old. What are you talking about? But it worked. I never went anywhere else.
Yep. Things are a little different than they used to be when it comes to recruiting, for sure.
Yeah. More on like, I call it, like in the professional world, I've had some opportunities to move up, and I look at who's there, and I look at the legacy that they've built, and sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, man, it's always a really tough spot to be the coach that follows Phil Jackson, and so I wonder for him, like, does he feel the weight of following Mooney and all of his legacy and everything? Like, I know, it's one thing to put pressure on yourself to perform, but like also I wonder if in his community, like if he ever stops and reflects and thinks, man, I have no really wiggle room to air here.
Yeah, I don't know. I like to think just from my interactions with him, and I think I know Casey pretty decently now. I mean, obviously he exudes confidence. I don't think he's lacking there in terms of like he feels like he's in the place he's supposed to be. I'm sure he feels the weight of it. Like he lived under Mooney. He knows all the history, but I think he believes in himself and believes in the direction and believes in the talent and the support he has in that community. And I don't know. I think he's in a really good spot to move forward and have a lot of success out there and continue cranking out guys, cranking out pros, college guys, development. So I like to think he's handling it in stride. I wouldn't see Casey stressing about something like that.
Well,
I don't believe.
obviously there's some intangibles there. I mean, if
Yeah,
people
big
are,
time.
if it's a waiting list to get your, to get your athletes in there, I mean, that's
Yeah,
obviously a good thing that you're not having to look up after a 10-17 season and wonder,
yeah,
why are all my athletes going somewhere else at this school?
yeah. And I mean, I don't think they'll ever struggle out there, but just because of who he is, I think he would get some leash in case they ever did have a few lean years. But I mean, they're never going to have lean years because everyone wants to go play at Chatham now. So,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Uh, when I think this was one that I asked you to ask him, but it was how much does he balance winning and how much does he balance
oh yeah,
developing players?
that was a good answer.
Oh, amazing answer. That
Yeah,
listen, practice is for developing,
yeah,
games is for winning.
yeah,
And I think that's just such an amazing approach to put on it to say,
yeah,
I think that sets the tone with your parents, that sets the tones with your kids. Like, look, don't just show up to the games and complain that your kid's not playing a certain position or doesn't know how to run the bases or whatever. When
yeah,
like, listen, Monday through Friday from 3 to 5 o'clock, like that's when we're
yeah,
learn how to do different things and bring up your skill. And once we get into the game, like we're going to call things to, if you want your kid to hit the ball, in the gap all the time, and the game situation comes up that we need him to hit a ground ball to the right side to move a runner over, like that's what we're going to do. Like, don't come to me,
yeah.
that I'm not developing your kid to hit the ball in the gap because you showed up to a game and that's what the situation called for. I thought that was an amazing answer.
Yeah, I was really interested to hear how he was going to answer that. You come up with some terrific questions. I always ask Joey beforehand. I kind of give him a lot of the information that I have, quotes, clips, some rough skeleton. And I'm like, hey, you come up with anything interesting, just another mind. And he always gives me probably 10 to 20 extra questions that I'll throw in there. And I just thought that was a great one. It was perfect how he answered it. He got serious when he answered it. It went from like, practices for developing, games are for winning. And he meant it. And I totally believe him when he said that.
Yeah. There's no, when I think back 20 years ago, obviously I was there around Dusty and some others that we never really talked about. Like we did a lot of things that let you win. And I'm talking about at Plains. We did a lot of things that allow you to win at the high school level, but don't automatically translate to to a higher level of game.
Right.
And what I mean by that is sometimes you can uh, do things to make the game faster that are going to make kids, throw the ball around or create an error or not know where to make the decision. And then when you get to the next level, those same things that you tried to do either on the bases or at the plate or whatever don't always translate. So that's what I mean by there's a lot of things at the high school level that you can do to win games.
Yeah.
That when you get to the next level, if you think that that's the only way that you can play or that's the only way to get around the bases, you can kind of get yourself in trouble. So that's kind of what I think about, um, when I'm thinking developing players for the next level. Obviously there's mental approach and there's, fundamentals and mechanics and things like that, but just instinct for playing the game. I do remember when I went from high school to Lincoln Land, that there were just certain things that you could get away with, ball in the dirt, for the catcher.
Yep.
9 times out of 10, you're making it to second in high school.
Yeah.
Maybe only 6 out of 10, five out
Yeah.
of 10, at the college game. So you've got it. Your decision making has to get a little bit better. Your jump has to get a little bit better. Those things.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Totally couldn't agree more with you. What
Um,
yeah, what else
what
you got?
couple more things on Casey. So I do feel like um, he was pretty open and honest, right? Like
Yeah.
the good, the bad,
Yeah.
but I do wonder why with at that time there were so many options for summer ball. Like, one, was he holding back the things that he did in summer because those were kind of proprietary to like what he was doing, or did he really just not remember or play in? I kind of feel like the summers for me at that age, from end of high school through JUCO, the summers were so important for me and
Yeah.
so memorable and made developed and faced bigger talent. And it seemed like every offseason he was just like, "Nah, I think I just worked out and did my own thing."
Yeah.
That seemed kind of weird to me.
I totally agree, but I think I think he's looking at it through a different lens than you or I ever looked at it. I think he always knew that professional baseball was next. It was just a
Yeah.
matter of when. And yeah, I thought it was a little strange after his first year at SCI when he couldn't remember. I'm like, you and I joked. We were like, yeah, we could have used you on the rifles, buddy. That would have
Oh
been
my
nice.
gosh. Yeah,
Let's
we
go.
sure could have.
But yeah, he seemed to not remember, or maybe he was just doing his thing. Like it wasn't as big a deal to him to like, I need to play in one of these collegiate prospect leagues. I want to play for the Rifles. Like you and I grew up being like going to Lincoln Land camps and thinking the Rifles was really cool and really special to be a part of. And I still believe that, but that just wasn't his path or reality. I think he always just knew it was pro ball. And I guess maybe I'm thinking that he kind of took the summer off to like really work on getting stronger and arm strength and things like that. And for whatever reason, he just couldn't totally remember why the reasons, but that would make sense to me, right?
Yeah, for sure. And when we had texted about this a little bit too, but like so much is required of your body to be able to sustain the season and to throw hard and do all these different things. It made me wonder like how much more of an anomaly was Pedro Martinez. Because I think when we were listening to this and when I was looking at, guys he was talking about his weight and how big he was and how hard he was throwing and all this. And then I don't know if I was watching TV or I was watching something, but not to jump too far forward, but this is a spinoff of an upcoming guest. I was looking at the Cardinals roster and then I looked at other pitchers in that area and just how big they were.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, you're right. Like you've got to be like, if you're not, 6'3" plus 220 plus, like does your body even hold up? Do they even look at you? How many injuries there are?
Yeah.
And then I thought, man, look at 5'9", 170-pound Pedro Martinez, just absolutely slinging it up there.
Yeah. Or like a Tim Lincecum, like a little guy that just had electric stuff. Like, it's crazy what the human body is capable of, just because, I mean, same stuff or better stuff even than some guys that were absolute horses, these Pedros and Tim Lincecums and Tim Hudsons, these guys that were, 5'10", 6 foot, that just had very fast twitch, loose joints, the right amount of whip, and a belief in themselves. Crazy.
And now I'm like, we need some Central Illinois guys to root for that don't have an injury cut their career short.
I know.
Like, we I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but like, do you remember Jim Byron that was out in Williamsville?
Oh, the magic massage guy.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love Jim Byron. So I was in my senior year, I was in a car accident and I had messed up my neck and back a little bit. And so I went to him quite often. And I remember he had like his own like massage oil, and he was a short guy anyway, but he had these big, long, massive arms and all that. And I remember the first time going there, I was like, what is he even going to do? And and he puts the heat pack on you and he just kind of massages with the oil and all that. But then it was like, I remember thinking like, well, that wasn't anything that anybody couldn't do at home. I'm like, I thought this guy was, performing miracles in here.
Right.
And then it was just like, when I went a couple of days, I didn't have it. I was like, you know what? Maybe I got to go back in there. And then I developed this routine of wanting to go back in there. And I thought, now that I'm older, I think back of like, well, yeah, that's like very basic, normal body care now.
Yeah.
But before, like, I was never even icing my arms or taking care of my body or anything. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think back now, I'm like, how stupid of me to think that like just the basic, physical care for your body actually yielded results. When at the time I was like, this is dumb. This is doing nothing. But then it was, so I wonder now, like, does every school have a like athletic recovery type program or something?
Interesting. Yeah. I wonder. I'm sure some of them that have some money probably do, or like are hooked up with some sort of entity that can guide them in that direction. That's interesting, man. I used to love you coming up with those. I forgot you talking about Jimmy Byron, and like you used to talk about him like in like a magic kind of way. Like he had like a healing touch.
It was, yeah. And he always like, I wasn't as religious then as I am now, but he also had a sign in his lobby that said, healing power comes from love comes from God.
Okay.
And I didn't have that same relationship that I do now, and so I kind of rolled my eyes at it and I was like, oh, that's kind of silly. But I mean, now looking back, I'm like, what a great man and like that he was. And it kind of makes me wonder now that why is or maybe I'm just not in it yet, like is recovery and taking care of your body and things like that much more of a thing in high school than it was back then.
Yeah, I totally agree. It has to be, because everything else has come forward too, in terms of like nutrition, how, training, psychology, like all these things. Of course, I'm sure it has to have come forward with all those other things as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously impressed. I played against Casey a little bit. Really cool to think, when we were growing up, the high school coaches of good programs were kind of like quasi
Yeah,
celebrities growing up.
sure.
So really cool that he's in that position now. Certainly, they don't lack for any sort of knowledge or experience in that position. So great for him that he's on that path, and what a great family legacy that he's got going there. I hope everything turns out, amazing for
Yeah,
him.
I think he's right where he's supposed to be. I for sure see him winning more state championships, developing more guys, college, pro down the road. He's in the right place.
Yeah. So was this I know you kind of mentioned your guys' relationship when you came into this, that you had competed against each other so
Yeah,
much, but not really had crossed paths like, as friends or colleagues or anything
yeah.
like that. How was it preparing for this one and interviewing him?
Really fun, man. Like fun on it. Like all these have their own little quirks that have been fun for me, but this one was really, like I said, really, really special because I did get to compete against him so much. I had so much respect for him. I, competed against all those Diamond King boys in different sports since we were little kids. And I never really knew. I mean, the only one I really had like a real personal relationship with was kind of like Adam McCord, who played with me at Lincoln Lane for a year. But then I was friendly with like Pink Staff and some of those guys. But man, just getting back, getting to talk to some of these guys. And like now I feel like some of them are my friends too. Like I'm
Sure.
still talking to Brad Rupert. We're talking about Grateful Dead stuff. We're not even talking about baseball stuff now. And like now I
Right.
feel like I can text Casey. It's something funny, or all these guys. Like poor PJ. Like I still text him all the time. He probably thought he was done with me when our podcast was done, but I still text him. I
Yeah.
told him like we're boys now, man. So
Say, hey,
yeah,
when your post game spread, your post game spread for life.
you're in it for life. But man, it was awesome, and it just felt. And like I'll be honest, like I do want to feel like we're friends, or like that I've made a new friend after I do one of these things if I didn't know them. And I legit feel like Casey is my friend now. Crook is my buddy now.
Yeah.
I mean, we do have a lot in common. We know a lot of the same people. We had a lot of the same experiences. I think there was mutual respect there, and it just was a really easy convo. I got multiple people that texted me and it sounded like you guys were old friends, and that's what it felt like to me
Yeah.
too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's something that you don't get with short
no,
form
you
interviews,
don't.
right? Like you gotta spend some time. I mean, not just for you preparing, but I mean, this is it's not like going on a date, but I mean, it is kind of like going on. I mean, you're spending some real
Seriously,
quality time with them, getting to know them. I
yeah,
mean, it'd be hard not to bond with
yeah,
someone after going through it like this.
totally. And similar to like a date, like there almost does feel like the ice needs to be broken at first. So like I try to I try to say something funny or something a little offbeat early, just to get
Yeah.
like a laugh and loosen us up. But they like, I think very quickly they can see that where my energy's at, what I'm trying to do, that like I'm there to make this very special for them. Like I turned over every stone. Like I put a ton of effort into it for them. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously for the fans as well, but that are listening. But it's ultimately for them, and I think they respect that. And once that little ice is broken and we're just like vibing, man, it's special to be in that conversation. It's really sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope there's people that are in his community now that probably knew his name or knew his position, but maybe didn't know him very
Yeah,
well. And I hope they listened and they've got like sort of a new respect or a new connection with him.
yeah.
Especially when he's leading their kids and spending so much time around them. So,
I'd be interested
yeah,
if I were a parent and my kid was going to play for Casey. I would absolutely find this interesting. I would get a little more under the hood of what's he all about. How does he think? How does he process things? What is his baseball story? I think it's all interesting. The steps he took to get where he's at today. That's what this whole thing is about.
yeah,
Yeah.
great. Well, what's next?
Oh man,
Who's
man,
next?
fun stuff, buddy. Well, yeah. So in the meantime, I've committed to some different people moving forward. But committed to doing moving forward. First of all, Bohart's next. We'll get into that in a sec. But Javier Gamboa, I've committed to doing him. So he was with the Sultans if you remember them
Yeah.
back in the day. And then he ended up kind of being like an adopted Springfield guy. Like he stayed here for like 10 years, made a lot of friends, married the sister of someone that I played with, Gino De Leon, coming up. So I was around Javier a lot. So he blew out his shoulder, ended up trying to get back into ball, was here for a while. Really cool guy, big time entrepreneur, just interesting story. So I'm going to have him on. I always thought he was cool. Ben Johnson is going to come on. So he's the Memphis Redbirds AAA manager, former big leaguer. So here's the connection. He was my manager in independent ball. It was his first year managing in pro ball. He went all the way from the lowest rungs of baseball to now he's, knocking at the major leagues as a skipper.
Yeah.
And then coming back, we're going to do Justin Knadler.
Yep.
And then we're going to do Corey Erickson. And when we do Justin, a little special surprise is I'm going to have Aper come in, and he's going to kind of finish out the end of it. So once we kind of finish his playing career and get to his coaching stuff, that's where Aper is going to step in, because Justin played such a huge role in Aper's development, all those guys, and like Mitch Trees, and we're going to have him involved. So we're going to do Justin, and then we're going to do Corey Erickson. And then I've got a soft yes from Kim Worth. So really excited to do Kim Worth someday. Her story is absolutely phenomenal, from her own, vision quest and things she overcame to then, raising arguably, like I said, one of the most athletic families in American history. And, but yeah, so back to Bo Hart is next. And that's been really fun doing all the back stuff for that, dude. Like I'm talking to some baseball dudes for that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So has this, I've like the tree is branching out, obviously. Like it started very ultra focused on Central Illinois legend type guys. Yep. And then obviously the branches are just growing from there.
Yeah. And I always see it being rooted in Central Illinois. Like I think there's always going to be someone we could come back to and do, even if it's just like we talked about doing the guys that weren't pros, but were just interesting local guys, just throw them on for a half hour, an hour, and talk a little bit about baseball. But man, every door is opening a new door for me. Like I should become a private detective after this, Joey, because the amount of like work that I'm doing trying to find these contacts, like some of these names, like Mark DeJean, big leaguer, longtime big league bench coach for Tony La Russa. Danny Schaefer was the AAA coach for Bo Hart when he got sent up. He was a big leaguer as well. Steve Bye-Bye Balboni, who was a big-time slugger for the Royals back in the 80s, hit a ton of bombs, was like the quintessential 80s, like huge lumberjack-looking dude that hit tanks and had a mustache and probably drank hose water and
like Jack Parkman, the character.
Exactly. Probably smoked cigarettes,
Yeah.
He was Bo's hitting coach in Double-A, and Bo said that he saved his career. Kerry Robinson, former big leaguer, Joe Patini, Tony La Russa's bench coach, Steve Hertz, who was his head coach at Gonzaga. Jared Hertz was his teammate at Gonzaga. I'm going to just say it. I've got a line on Tony La Russa. I mean, I've got his contact number. I've contacted him. We're in the works of trying to get him involved. Like when I talk to these guys, by the end of like you can almost sense at the very start of the conversation, they're a little bit apprehensive. Like, what is this about?
Right. Yeah.
But I quickly try to tell them, like, hey, this is who I am. I'm not your typical media. I'm a firefighter. I'm a veteran. I'm a former pro baseball player myself. I'm just trying to help guys tell their stories. I think they can instantly tell where my energy's at. I'm not just some dude for the Chicago Tribune trying to get his next story, like.
Right.
This really is.
And you're not trying to dig up dirt.
In no possible way. Absolutely none. And you can hear them kind of relax and get into it. And it's given me, if I can talk baseball with these are like salty baseball dudes that have been in pro baseball for 40 years. And it's given me confidence to be able to chop it up with them and keep them entertained as well. Like they're enjoying talking about it. So giving me confidence to keep moving forward. And by the end of the conversation, they're kind of feeling good about it and wanting to involve more people. So they're giving me contacts with people. That's kind of how I got Tony La Russa's number. And just one door opens the next. And that's kind of where I see this is growing. So like, I hope, someone listens to Bo Hart, maybe some pro out there that has an interesting story and wants to get a hold of me. And it's like, hey, I'd love to come on. Or maybe Bo's going to give me a reference. Hey, you should talk to this guy. So that's kind of where it's going.
We had a rookie first baseman, third baseman combo that hit really well when he was up.
Yeah.
It goes by the name of Pujols. Look, here's
Right.
his number.
But yeah, so we talked about this, the roster of when Bohart did his thing, had this real special moment is nuts. It's so veteran heavy.
Yeah.
It's prime Pujols. It's Jimmy Edmonds. It's Scott Rowland. It's Mike Matheny. It's Tino
That
Martinez.
Girardi was on the team too. How crazy.
Are you kidding me? Like, I can't wait to hear just what that clubhouse was like. Like, what did he feel
Yeah.
like? And what's cool is I'm getting a feel for, like, obviously these big league guys have seen, endless amounts of talent, but they're really excited about what Bohart did too. It wasn't just a blip. It wasn't a nothing. Like,
Yeah.
it was a guy that was very likable, easy to root for, and they thought it was as special as Cardinal Nation did, as some of baseball did. So, man, this is going to be really, really special. I'm excited about this.
Yeah. And what's interesting, I guess, to me is that it feels almost like he's relatable as like the everyday guy that kind of, snuck into the varsity game or something. When in reality, yes, he's obviously better than all of us. But the perception is that this was just an everyday guy that snuck in there and caught fire.
Yep, he's that grinder, that hard worker. The coaches love. Very easy to root for. Like, just all these interviews are just like, they're glowing about him. So I'm in the right spot. I'm doing the right thing. One funny thing that I wanted to add is, like, so I'm using different search engines that scrape for information. I'm looking up social medias. I'm looking up foundations that these people are associated with. I'm looking up, some of them help give lessons in places. The funniest one so far has been, I ended up finding a number for, I thought was Steve Bye Bye Balboni. It ended up being his wife. And we had like a week and a half text conversation, his wife and I, building trust, essentially, going back and
She
forth,
was like the gatekeeper
for like a week before she finally was like, here's Steve's number. She goes, I usually handle all this stuff for him, but give him a call. He'd love to do it. But like, we talked for a week back and forth. Like, this is what I'm trying to do, before she finally she let me through. So
yeah, you had to talk to the dad before he let you date the daughter type thing.
Yeah, I got it. Like, someone's, I want to say Joe Patini's son. I found him on Facebook and was hounding him in a respectful way. But I was like, I'm trying to get a hold of your dad, and like, this is a good thing. And then all of a sudden, Joe Patini calls me, and I'm talking to former bench coach. So, yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been really fun. So,
good.
Yeah, that's where we go. So, are you ready to transition to the next part?
Sure.
Cool. So,
let's hit it.
We've talked about doing this. We've got like about a half hour here. Perfect. I'd love to introduce Joey a little more. So we've given him this little platform to kind of, be himself, and I love his personality, and we get along great. But I'd love to just give him a little more, just talk about what his baseball connection is through all this, and like kind of why he's on here. And then we're gonna do some fun baseball questions at the end. We've talked about eventually coming back to like the Eric Gums, these kind of guys, Zach Everest, these kind of interesting guys from the area that were good. So this will be kind of a test run on that, and just a better way to introduce you to all these guys. So,
sure.
To start off, Joey was my teammate at Lincoln Land, one of my favorite all-time teammates. I already shared the story about, one of my favorite Joey stories was when we were at, I think, John Wood or some school, where it was customary for the freshmen to pick up all the bag of bats. And for some reason, no one was doing it. And in like a real funny, tongue-in-cheek way, but also got your point across, you like jokingly ran over to the bats. And you're like, well, I already carry this team. I might as well carry the bats too. And I think you weren't even hitting that well at the time, but it was just the perfect, like, you let everyone know that the bats do need to be picked up, but without a heavy hand. And it was awesome. A little more about Joey's background. Was part of that Plains, Lightning in a Bottle group where they won double state, with Bensko and Roth and Gums and those guys. So that would have been your junior year?
Sophomore year.
Okay. Excuse me. Sophomore year. A lot of success out at Plains. Also, big time basketball players. People don't remember. You actually, if I remember this right, you were on the Lincoln Land basketball team for a little bit. Were you practicing with them for a little bit?
I played about 8 or 9 games.
Really?
Too.
I didn't realize you were actually in a game. So you can say that you were a 2-sport college athlete.
Yeah, and in certain instances, I don't hesitate to say that either. as long as it's around somewhere that didn't know what actually happened.
That's terrific. But yeah, Joey was one of my favorite teammates at Lincoln Land. Played some ball. Played 3 years for the Rifles, so that's a distinction that not many can say. Some of the worst rifles teams in history, but
Yeah.
it is what it is. Ended up going to Weber International, which was a whole interesting experience that we're going to talk about. And then that kind of whole connected into what you're doing now and whatnot. So if you wanted to start off, can you tell us a little bit about what was special about your time out at Pleasant Plains and that group?
Yeah, really incredibly lucky that the atmosphere and the set of parents and the group that we had growing up were good. And looking back now, really a consistent set of coaches that kind of came in too and coached us all the way through.
Yep.
But yeah, I was, very small town, 700 people. When you grow out young, we weren't pulling from the west side of Springfield yet, so I mean, it was just the group of guys that were in the actual town of Pleasant Plains,
Yeah.
and you didn't have enough players to make a team per age group. So, I mean, I was always playing 2 or 3 years up. Like
Yeah.
there were guys, I was always sort of the youngest or smallest guy on, the team that was 2 years older.
That's right.
So, which, looking back now, was, I was probably still playing T-ball at like 8 or 9 years old. So if I give that perspective now, I mean, it's no wonder why I thought I was so good at T-ball. It's because I probably should have not been in it. But I remember the tough jump from, T-ball to kid pitch, because everybody was older and I'm, jumping out of the way as balls were coming right down the middle.
Sure.
But baseball was we didn't have football at Plains. So I never grew up watching it or playing it or seeing any of that. So, I mean, it was baseball, basketball was it. That's all you saw played. That's all you practiced. That's all you learned. And we had a pretty good group that coached us sort of all the way through. And I think, if you go back and listen to Dusty's pod or even my first left field, reaction after that, I kind of go through a little bit that he was our Babe Ruth, right?
Yeah.
And I got to attach myself to his coattails and follow through that, you get put in a lot of positions and situations and games just kind of riding along with him. But, I was relatively athletic growing up. It really kind of switched for me probably 6th, 7th grade. I came into my own, did well in middle school. I think we got, I don't know, 3rd or something like that in state when we were in middle school. So we knew we could play a little bit. And then when I got to high school, I think I played 2 weeks of JV ball. Just came out on fire for no other reason than I was just excited to be there and did pretty well. And I joined varsity because of some injuries. I don't know if it was Bogum or whoever it was, but somebody got injured and we needed an extra outfielder, and I got thrown right into the mix.
Yeah.
Very first game, I think I went 3 for 3 against Jacksonville with a home run.
There you go.
As a freshman.
There you go.
Yeah. So, and it was a unique year too, because we only had one senior. Ryan Murphy was our only senior that year.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I kind of got lucky that I got thrown right into it. Greer and I were great all the way through middle school. He knew who I was. We coached. We played together. He was our PE teacher all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never ever forget this. Right when we start my freshman season, we are practicing in the gym at Farmingdale, which is our elementary school inside. And he has us doing this like a hip drill where you face like if you're in the batter's box, you would be facing the catcher, and someone soft tosses it over the plate, and you have to turn your body and hit it like towards the field.
Yeah.
For some reason, my body would not let my leg open up, and I wasn't opening up enough, and I was just swinging around it. And it happened 2, 3, 4 times, and he was like screaming at me to correct it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, dude, I'm trying. But he thought that I was just being defiant against him.
Yeah.
So he kicks me out and he makes me go catch bullpens against like Dusty and Matt Clark and Jordan and the whole time. And I was like, because I was a catcher in middle school. And it was just from right there, he just decided that he was going to have to, ride me harder than anybody else.
Yeah.
And it was not a great relationship for a while. But I mean, so it worked though, because out of all of that, he kind of yes, I played scared a lot. But he kind of got me out of mediocrity, right?
Yeah.
Like, so he was always pushing me to go harder than I ever thought that I should. So I ended up hitting over 400 my freshman year on the varsity level. So that was exciting. We made state. We lost in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Come back second year. I hit in the 5 hole behind Murphy Ryan Murphy. And looking back, I benefited so much from a lot of other good guys around me that I never had to be the guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Back to talking about Casey. I wasn't seeing curveballs and things like that.
Yeah.
Like I was getting fastballs trying to get out, and I benefited from a lot of guys being on base too. So, sophomore year we had obviously the great run in state that we won it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was we caught a lot of breaks. Don't necessarily have time to go in as much depth and detail as everybody else because it wasn't. I was just sort of a spoke in the wheel.
Yeah.
Played center field all the way through high school. Again, didn't have anything remarkable, but always found my way in the lineup.
Yeah.
And I think that was kind of me all the way through school. I thought I didn't, I wasn't the fastest, wasn't the best fielder, wasn't the best hitter, didn't have the strongest arm, but I was probably third or fourth in all of those all the way around.
It was like you just always figured out how to do things. You could like get things done. It's like it's like a weird intangible thing that you can't really. It's hard to say, but it's like if you played with you, it was like Joey just got stuff done. Like he got it done.
I loved baseball so much. It's just I love clowning. I love all the downtime.
Yeah.
I love playing basketball too, and I focused on that and things. But just to fit my personality, baseball just lined up really well with it.
Sure.
So we won state our sophomore year. Junior year was tough because that's when the drop 5 went out and the drop 3 came in.
That was cruel.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you found out that that maybe the bats did have a little bit to do with it.
Man.
Still a good year though because Dusty was still there, the 01 class was still there. Again, I never had to be the guy. I don't think again. The 2001 season for us was very similar to how Casey described it. Like that was our best, most talented class, both in basketball and baseball. And I don't know that I'd ever hit into a double play in my entire varsity high school career. We get to the first round of the state tournament. We made it 3 years in a row. We faced a team called Benton, and I hit into 2 double plays with 2 hard hit line drives right at the second baseman. 2 double plays that kind of killed a lot of our momentum. And I don't know that I'd ever hit into one in all of the high school career. And I picked that game to hit into 2 of them. So, sometimes what's funny about me is that, most of the times I'm not making fantastic contact, but it's finding a way through. In that game, karma, flipped on me and I was hitting hard balls right at it.
You did have an innate ability. We always joked like the 4 or 5 hopper. Somehow Joey finds a way to get it through. Always did.
Yeah, I don't know. I love it. So I joined. So I wasn't until I had always played with Plains teams in the summer, but it wasn't, I think, until after my junior year. No, maybe it was after sophomore. Yeah. Then I joined some of the guys with Springfield Shockers, which was kind of that next tier down from Statesman.
Who were some of those names you remember on that Shockers team?
Oh, my goodness. We had, it was like from Griffin, we had Zach Cordier, we had Jason Remini. I'm going to leave out so many names. Kyle Amerson, from Lanphier, we had like Chris Workman, Marshall Pressler. Springfield, we had Jake Hurwitz. Corey Getz joined from Mount Zion.
Okay.
We had, Southeast. Did Jake Hurwitz go to Southeast or Springfield?
Southeast.
Yeah, he was Southeast. Yeah. And then Plains, it was like me, Jordan Roth, Stephen Brown, Ryan Sunley, Ryan Needham played with us a little bit too.
Yeah, John Eck was on that team.
Yeah, Eck was there. Brewer joined
Travis
for 1
Drury.
year. Drury was there. Phil Laurent joined for 1 year.
Drew Carlock.
Carlock was there too. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So we had again, that was kind of our pretty much everybody that I named there was good enough to play college ball.
Absolutely.
Or to play college ball.
Absolutely.
But still kind of in the hierarchy of guys at that time. Statesman was, Runaway, those were the guys that were the prospects and things like that. But we were competitive everywhere that we went.
Absolutely. It's a good team.
We ended up winning a U-Trip. So after my senior year, before I joined Lincoln Land, we had a nice little run where we won a U-Triple-SA state championship or a World Series.
Yeah.
Which I think looking back now, I think it was like the I think it was like the lower division World Series, but either way, I don't know.
The toilet bowl of World Series. That Gus Macker.
Yeah, we still play. I mean, still very, still very competitive games.
Yeah.
Gosh, like not to get off on too many stories because I'll burn up all the time here. But like I know Matt Brewer was on for PJ's story,
Yep.
and we've talked about him a little bit, and sponsors the show some, and so
Yeah.
he went to Plains in middle school.
That's right.
And we actually won a 4x1 state championship in track.
You sent me that picture. That's right.
Yeah. And he and I in that picture, it's so funny. Like we're about the same size.
Yeah.
And then fast forward like 3.5 years later,
Things
he's an absolute monster. I mean, he's like 6'4", 220 pounds, completely lean, forearms as big as my thighs.
The prototype athlete. Yeah, absolutely.
God, and I remember at that World Series in Florida, we were either rooming together or we were hanging out. It was like, we would play one game in the morning at 9:00, and by 10:45 we were done and back at the hotel, and it was, beach the rest of the day. And I remember he and I were like, in swim trunks next to each other in the mirror, and I'm like, Jesus, look at how much wider you are than me. Like, you are a monster. I was like 5'10", 165 or something like that. Feeling good about myself. And he just got so big and so strong.
Yeah, he
did. And during this whole tournament, he was hit, like he would chop balls in front of the plate and they would bounce all the way over the third baseman's head and like short hop the left fielder. And I'm like, my God, like he's a monster.
Yeah, he was strong, boy. Man, he was strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Phil Laurent had a good run with us. He just for that 1 year that was good.
Yeah.
So my Lincoln Land story a little bit. Because I played as a freshman and Ryan Murphy was a senior that year, Murphy was going to Lincoln Land or on that radar. Yep. So, Bruce Richards, I love him so much. They knew about me all the way through. And not that I always intended to go there. I mean, you want to tell yourself that, you're going to get D1 offers. And if I was kind of that guy that always snuck into a lineup and snuck onto a team, and I was putting up decent stats for a team that was winning, I thought, probably I project a little higher than I really did. So I soured on that a little bit, but then ultimately when I was part of Bull's first recruiting class.
Yeah, special.
And really, I didn't, I kind of was crapping on it a little bit at the time because I wanted things to be, higher and better and all that, wanted more attention, just regular high school ego type stuff.
Right.
And then I remember but Bull did everything right. Like he would just shoot the breeze with me. He would call during basketball season. He's like, look, I know basketball is very important to you. You guys have big goals this year. You're doing great. Never want to take you away from that. Whatever, just kept in touch with me at all the right times and, never pushed too hard, but just always said how important and how he saw a place for me on the team and wanted to carry the legacy of Plains guys going to Lincoln Land and all that. But it really wasn't until he told me that he had also locked in like Matt Crowley from Virginia and Chuck Long from Rochester. And then kind of a light bulb went off in my head and it's like, oh yeah, those are guys that I know are as good as me or better. And I was like, okay, this feels like it fits now.
Yeah. And you've also talked about going back and getting kind of perspective from some of these episodes, like hearing like Jason and O'Malley talk about how they loved that they went to Lincoln Land and like they were a part of it. And like, yeah, if it's good enough for them, it's good enough for you or I,
For sure. And so, transition. I remember that first fall showing up. I knew who J.R. Kais was from playing against him. I knew Workman because we played together.
Yep.
So many of a couple of our Shocker guys made it through, to that Lincoln Land team as well. Eric Gum, obviously there. And really, I think in the fall, switching to wood bats, I was afraid that I was going to do poorly, and I did pretty good. Okay. I honestly had no expectations of where I was even going to fit on that team. Like if I was going to have to compete for a spot, because there were a lot, Terry Parnell was there, Matt Lusk was there, Workman was there, Eric was there, like all outfielders.
Absolutely. You got some dudes.
Yeah. And so, but sure enough, I was not a leadoff guy. Like I hit in the 5-hole freshman, sophomore, junior. I hit in the 3-hole in my senior year. I have no idea what wound me up as a leadoff for Lincoln Land.
Yeah.
Maybe Bull just didn't have another spot to fit me, but all of a sudden I find myself in the leadoff spot and never batted leadoff. No leadoff approach whatsoever. Like at Plains, Bo
Loved
Gum
that
was
first
our
pitch.
leadoff guy.
Loved it.
Oh my God. Like Bo Gum, like has, he's got the eye, he probably walked more times than I even had hits. I don't know, but like he was the consummate leadoff guy. He could come back and tell everyone what pitch was working, what wasn't. Me, not, absolutely not. Like if I get a first ball fastball, I'm swinging.
Right.
So anyway, for a freshman year, because of several other players didn't decline their offer to the Rifles, it kind of fell to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, take advantage of what you got.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jumped in, was completely overwhelmed. I believe I went 0 for my first 38, I believe.
Wow. Yeah.
Oh yeah, 0 for 38. And it's 6 games in 7 days. So I mean,
it is.
And we had same thing. We had a couple of guys not show up that year, so I think we only had 3 or 4 outfielders for a time. So I mean, there's no hiding. Like you're getting in the lineup all the time.
You're getting exposed. Yep.
Yeah. Well, and it's not that I was striking out a bunch, but just balls that usually find the holes weren't finding the holes.
Right.
And once you start feeling the pressure at 0 for 10.
Oh gosh, yeah.
So it doesn't get any better from 10 to 38. I can tell you that.
And it's a big jump from JUCO competition to what the CICL used to be. There were some absolute very talented pitchers in that league.
For sure. And so then, but I think I ended up doing fine. With the 0 for 38 start, I think I went something like 17 for 60 or 17 for 70 after that. So I mean, nothing incredible, but enough to feel like I was participating. Yeah. So came back, had the same type of thing that everybody else talks about. I had high expectations for my sophomore year at Lincoln Land. Just being a good contributor. I think only JR in 03 hit better than I did. Obviously other guys had better power numbers and stuff, but high expectations.
Yeah. And JR ended up going to U of I.
Yeah, U of I. Yep. But same type of thing. It was, I put a lot of pressure on myself. I was trying to do things that I didn't need to do,
Sure.
Like you said, came out in that first trip and hit a home run. And I think I had a double or something like that, thinking, now I'm a drive-in runs type of guy. I'm a 10 doubles, 10 home runs type of guy. But anyway, we had some success there. Another year with, as we were coming to the end of that year, I remember we're almost done with the season, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing with my life after this, let alone baseball, school, life, whatever.
Yeah.
And I do remember probably with about 2 weeks left in the season, it dawning on me that I'm like, man, I'm going to have to go to Bull and ask him like, hey, how do I go play somewhere else? Like no one, didn't want to humble myself and walk into his office and be like, hey, Bull, I thought I would have some offers by now. What do I do?
Yeah.
And right probably before that happened, he called me in and said, hey, Weber called and they need another outfielder. Would you ever consider going to Florida? And, a little bit, I tried to play it off like, oh, I'm going to think about this and consider it. When on the inside, I was like, thank God somebody wants me. Thank God I can play.
Yeah.
So, but, so then at the time I've got to consider, am I going to leave Central Illinois and go down to Florida, whole new life, don't know anybody there.
Absolutely.
But, I had convinced myself that like, hey, somebody wants me and they're going to offer me some scholarship, I'll make the best of it. And then very quickly after that, Kendrick also got an offer. Boyer also got an offer. Crowe got an offer to pitch, and then also Zach Cordier from SCI. So
like the Springfield connection. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it was like it was kind of double-edged sword for me because it's like at the beginning I was like, oh, I feel special because like they came to get they wanted an outfielder, and then when it's like all 5 of us, I think to myself, I'm like, well, shit, I'm back in the same group I was in high school. That like it's the same group that went to Lincoln Land that's going there now. But anyway, so. Wanted to make the best of it, and quickly found out, so NAIA is different.
Yeah, that was a unique experience for you.
Yeah, really different. Like we had a lot of international guys,
Yeah.
Cuban, Dominican, Puerto Rican. We
Yeah.
had guys that were like 25 years old that had played 3 years of pro
Yeah.
ball.
That's
You
what
know,
I would love that you mentioned that, because I remember there being a guy that you said had already played pro ball, and somehow there was some
yeah,
loophole in NAIA where you could come back and play college ball.
yeah. He came back. Well, yeah, he came back and had 1 year of eligibility left. So yeah, just wild, but but
What?
that was a collection of baseball players. That was not a team in
Yeah.
my
Okay.
eyes. Like
Okay.
too many guys didn't come from the same area. A lot of guys were trying to get because we're right in Central Florida. Tons of uh, spring training facilities all around, like especially all those international guys. Like they're, I mean, I think they wanted to win, but they weren't committed to doing things for the team to win. Like everyone was just kind of fighting for their own spot to be seen down there.
Yeah.
And my first fall down there, that's when all four of those hurricanes came through in Florida in 2005
Oh,
or
right.
2005.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our facilities were wiped out. We basically did not have a fall season. We didn't even go to class.
Wow.
Yeah. So like completely got out of shape, was around, no accountability with my parents there, around a set of friends that, didn't know me. I was working a little bit, had a little bit of money, but, and then all of a sudden we're at Lincoln Land. It was all about community and friends, and I was going to class. Now at Weber, like they were ultra focused on like business classes and getting you prepared for the workforce.
Yeah.
So it's just all new stuff for me. Like, and
Sure.
all of a sudden baseball kind of took a back seat for a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Just didn't feel the same. But also you had some kind of like how you get some JUCO studs that don't go D1.
Hmm.
For whatever reason in our conference there, you just had some stud pitchers down there.
Yeah.
Embry Riddle was the best team out of Daytona. They had a couple of really good guys. I remember facing a guy named Ryan Pope that I think played in the Yankees organization, threw like 94 with a hammer breaking ball. I
Yeah.
considered not ever playing baseball again after that game.
Like, why are
I
you in
thought,
NAIA baseball right now, buddy? What are
no,
you doing?
I just thought like this is like, okay, well that's it. Like I clearly topped out. I feel like a child up here,
Yeah.
and I'm nervous to even swing because I don't even know if it's going to be in the vicinity. I'm gonna look like
Yeah.
an idiot. Like I'm just gonna stand up here. Is that bad? But no, Weber was not the baseball experience that Lincoln Land was.
Yeah.
Didn't have the feeling of community.
Right.
You didn't have the fun we had to go fundraise $1,000 for each person,
Yeah.
but got really nothing in return. We took school buses everywhere.
Yeah.
We were three guys were splitting a $20 bill to eat at Wendy's.
Yeah.
With no helmet, no shoes, no practice, like one pair of shorts and a shirt for practice gear. Like
Yeah.
at Lincoln Land, we had everything. You know what I mean? We had sweatsuits, bags,
Yeah.
like those are the type of things that I guess I took it for granted that happen everywhere, but they really don't.
I remember Big Bull telling us when I first got to Lincoln Land that you're never going to be treated better than you are at Lincoln Land. And I remember thinking, like, whatever, like, you're full of crap. But I went on to play, you went on to go NAIA. I went on to go to a smaller Division I school at Murray State. He was absolutely 100% correct.
Yep.
We got treated so well at Lincoln Land, first class all the way, facilities, clothes, just how you were treated, travel, food.
Everything.
We were poor. We were very poor at Murray State. We had to pay for all of our own stuff. Like, it was Big Bull was right.
Yeah. So it like same type of thing though at Weber. It was like we had some legit guys. Like my first year, Grover Benton was our center fielder that had played with the Mets, Division I football. He was, faster, probably the fastest person I've ever seen.
Yeah.
We had a couple other guys that were, again, had better tools than me, but for whatever reason just couldn't put it together, and I found my way in the lineup.
Yeah.
I played, right or left. By the end of the season, I think I found myself in the DH spot, but always just found my way in the lineup. The way that baseball ended for me was funny because it ended and then I got a chance to come back. So, I ended up getting an internship, which parlayed into the sports tourism career that I still have. So school ended in May. We finished our season and we thought we were out. So I started this internship and we had stopped practicing and we just thought that it was over. And then another team that was ahead of us ended up dropping all three of their conference games, which allowed us to back into the last spot of our conference playoffs or whatever.
That's
So
weird.
I'm starting.
Yeah.
So now I've started working, and it's like, well, I'm not going to tell this internship now that all of a sudden I have to stop because it's a really good gig and it was very competitive to get in, and they're paying me and all this. And also in my mind, I'm like, man, I've already kind of like
Checked out.
I've already kind of checked out of it. And so like I actually didn't practice for like three weeks or so, but I still they let me go to the games. And I
Really?
remember I'm not even expecting to play, just because I hadn't been to practice, right? Like you should
Right.
absolutely reward somebody else that's been there. So I think another guy ended up getting 2 at bats, and then they put me right back in, and I played the rest of it.
Really?
And I remember every time I was up there, I just kind of remember thinking to myself, like, these are my last at bats, and I felt nothing. I was so ready. I
Really? It
played.
was done. It was
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah. It wasn't I knew I wasn't good enough to go anywhere else.
Mhm.
I'd had such a good run, so much fun. Baseball had taken me places, that I'd never thought that I'd be. I was just kind of good with it. And like I got a little taste of a fun job that was paying me that like was now this road into a career after sports.
Yeah.
And I was really excited about it. So I got super because everybody else there went back to Illinois. Well, Crowley went to the Diamondbacks. He
Right.
was playing there, but like everybody else kind of went back home to
Yeah.
Illinois. And it was kind of my thing that I was like, you know what, I'm going to stay here and make a life out of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if baseball wasn't the experience here that I thought it would be, like I still really like the area. I still want to prove that like I'm more than just a product of the system and the people around me. So
Well said.
I ended up So the group was called Polk County Sports Marketing. Did amazing fun things with them. Got my start in sports tourism. Funny enough, obviously we don't have anywhere near the time to tell this story, but Katie met her at Lincoln Land. We were not dating then, but she came back to Florida, got back together.
Yeah, I love that
Wasn't
story.
my wife at the time. Her pharmaceutical territory took her to Seattle, and I was Central Florida. So you can imagine how easy that was across 3 different
Yeah.
time zones. So anyway, she landed her pharmaceutical territory in Dallas. I told her that I would follow. It ended up taking me 8 months or so, but I was really lucky to pick up almost an identical job that I had there in Florida and land that with, at the time, they were the Dallas Convention and Visitors Bureau. We
Yeah.
later started the Dallas Sports Commission. But that fulfilled every childhood dream that I ever had. Like that was it. Like I got to work very intimately on Super Bowl,
Yeah.
college
I remember
football
that.
national championship, WrestleMania, men's and women's Final Fours, international soccer. I mean, you name it. Like professionally, that was, all that was kind of what fed the ego of like, hey, I'm a big deal. Like
Yeah.
I'm getting to do all of these things that I never even knew were possible as a kid. So, and then now I've transitioned. Not that I burnt myself out on it, but I followed, I ran on that treadmill as fast as I could go for as long as I could. Had 3 kids at the time. I've got 4 now. Wanted some more time at home, so I've kind of transitioned to. I'm director of sales for a sports housing company now. So I sign up, event producers that host tournaments, and we manage their hotel blocks for them. So
I'm really glad you brought up that story with Katie. I wasn't sure if you were going to organically bring that up or not, but I've always loved that you guys, were this couple, and you spent a couple years apart when you went away for college, and you had to do some growing up and figuring your stuff out, and you guys came back together, and it's all connected. And kind of one of the whole things about this whole podcast was I wanted to highlight how things are connected, and that's just, I love it. I've always loved that story. And like, if you hadn't gone to Weber, you wouldn't be in this line of work, or at least not where you are, and how, just, it all worked out. I love it.
And that's kind of how I've made peace with it now, is that Weber didn't give me the baseball experience that I wanted. Although I met a lot of great guys and a lot of great players and all that, it just didn't feel like as magical as Lincoln Land felt. And I thought that it just didn't feel that way. But
it sets
like you said,
for a magical life.
It absolutely got me, beyond beyond the experience of being a college athlete and a student, threw me right into the workforce and catapulted me to where I am now, which, I mean, God has bigger plans than we all know for ourselves. And I've been so fortunate and so lucky to have a very enjoyable career, great family.
Yeah.
We love it here, just outside of Dallas. all that is legitimate. You know, I miss all of the people from Central Illinois.
Yeah.
And I miss that, you know, what we grew up and all those people. I miss the vacation culture of Central Florida. I mean, that was a really cool time in my life, you know, 22 to 26,
Yeah.
little money in my pocket, no, you know, no extracurriculars, you know, had a lot of fun, gotten a little, did a lot of troublesome things, but didn't get in trouble for it, you know, as we all do when we're young
Yep.
adults. But
Yeah.
yeah, but you know, Dallas is home now. You know, this
Yeah.
is where we've raised our family, and
Yep.
you know, we're ingrained into the community. And I've, you know, I think I've coached at least one or two teams every basketball or baseball season for my kids since about 2018. Even coached a soccer in there. I'll never do that again in my life.
Not for you.
Coached one season of soccer. That's out. Um, no, but all fantastic. And so I guess to wrap this all up, I love being back involved with this and
Yeah.
just chatting with you,
Yep.
because I loved the social aspect of baseball.
Me
I
too.
loved
Yep.
clowning in the outfield.
The
I
best.
loved,
Yep.
you know, I loved the clowning in BP and shagging balls and talking in the dugout.
Yeah.
And
This
you
is
know,
this is a little
and
piece
it,
of that in some way.
yeah, and it, like, you know, it mattered how, to me, it mattered how you put bat on your tape, and it, or a tape on your bat,
Yeah.
and it mattered what color gloves you wore that day, and it mattered if I got on base, and it mattered if I handed my elbow pad before my glove. Like, I don't know, I loved all that, the nuance thing
Yeah.
about baseball.
I love that, man. Man, you gave us you told me a hard cap here at 1:30.
I know, and you know, I hate to pull the curtain back, but this was on my lunch break, and I do have to go earn a living
Oh
right now.
well,
Otherwise, I could talk for another hour.
well, I just got to keep building this thing up, so eventually I can hire you away from your job. So we'll keep going. I
We're,
have like 50 baseball questions for you, but we can't get to them
oh
right
no,
now.
we didn't get to those. All right,
We did
let's
not.
save it. So next time will be all. Next time will be all those questions.
Let me get. How about Okay, yeah, gosh.
Or let me do my meeting. Or what are you doing today?
Eventually we're going, trick or treating here a little later, but
like, if I call you back in like 30 minutes.
yeah, we could do that.
All right,
Let's do it.
I'll ping you. I'll
All
ping
right,
you when I'm done.
let's do it.
Let me go handle business, and I'll come back.
All right, buddy. We'll talk to you.
All right.
All right. Bye.
Yeah.
All right, we're back connected. We got cut off there. Joey had a real life moment where he had to go do his job and make money and whatever. I personally think he was being a little bit selfish. I mean, you got to be committed to the cause here, but
Yeah, get in where you fit in.
you have to work with the talent you got. So I appreciate you being here, buddy.
Yeah.
What I did want to do there and what we didn't get to was the kind of the baseball Q&A that we usually do, and that was a nice test run of like a shorter pod, talking to guys about their careers. We had about 30 minutes there, and we went through Plains, Lincoln Land, and Weber. The interviewer part of me wanted to stop you so many times and be like, I want to hear more about this. I want to hear more about this.
Sure.
But I knew we only had 30 minutes there to knock that out. So it's a good feel for me to like, how do we tell someone's shorter story without shortchanging it and getting a feel for it?
Yeah, I don't have any Casey Erickson 17 strikeout, throwing 94 type games,
Yeah.
Like I've got a couple of hey, four three hoppers up the middle games,
Oh yeah. Hey.
But no, yeah, a lot of my fondest memories and funny stories are, not game related, playing related. So
well, I hope you didn't feel shortchanged by that. I'm sure more of your story will come out as we just chat it up and talk throughout the years and when we're doing this. So, all right, man, you ready to do some baseball Q&A?
All right, I'll try not to let you down.
Some of these are like just like the standards, and some of them are more towards Joey and his affinity for wrestling and things of that nature. So here we go. Let's say, who are some of your favorite baseball players of all time?
Oh man, starting way back when I was a Cubs fan, so it was Andre Dawson. That was my first
Hawk.
one. Was the Hawk? Yes. I do remember when I was super young. I guess I was 8 years old, because for my 8th birthday, I had a all blue sweatsuit that my mom took like some puffy paint on and drew the #8, like number 8. And I was like, no, I wanted 8 like a jersey. But I was like, I told her I wanted number 8 on it. So she wrote number sign and 8. And it was for Andre Dawson. But then I went to school and everyone's like, oh, because your 8th birthday? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess. So now, like all these kids now have all these jerseys of like their favorite, player and all that. So yeah, mine was I had a blue sweatsuit with a puffy paint #8 on it for Andre Dawson.
That's a great effort by mom.
Yeah. Oh, so then, progressing with the Cubs, Sandberg, Grace, and then Sosa. Obviously, I started wearing number 21. Yep. I think when I was in 7th grade because of Sammy. Wore that all the way through. Loved Sosa. Played outfield. Loved all that.
I knew you were a big Sosa guy. You used to have like the elbow pad. You kind of would. You had the big ball of tape on the end of your knob, like Sammy did. You'd run out to right field like Sammy with the finger up.
Some of that was just to entertain other guys too. But yeah, I loved everything about it. Once I started watching other people, I mean, it was outfielders for me. I loved Griffey. I loved Kenny Lofton.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of the ones that I remember. So yeah, Cubs guys. And then at that time, Griffey and Lofton were making like the Sports Center highlight catches. And I believe it or not, there was a time when I was making diving catches in the field as well before before I realized it was tearing up my body and didn't need to do that. But yeah, there were, I do remember, not to get off on too many stories here, but in 2000, when we were in the state tournament, I think it was the first game, might have been the semifinal, but either like the first or second batter of the game hits a line drive to center field, and I was running in and I made a diving catch, and just threw it back in. Then we go through the game. I end up hitting a bloop to left field that ended up being a double and scored the winning run. And I remember I got interviewed after the game, and they're like, hey, do you really you feel like you set the tone early defensively? And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are they talking about? And they had to remind me. They're like, oh, yeah, you made that diving catch in the first inning. And I was like, I remember thinking in my head, I'm like, that's such like a dumb, like grown up answer. Like, don't ask me if I set the tone defensively. Like, I'm just out here playing like pitch by pitch. I have no idea, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Making plays in the field was something that I related myself to, so I love those guys.
Absolutely, I was trying to set the tone. That's exactly what I was going
I did.
for.
I had to kind of like fumble over and kind of make up some dumb answer, but in my mind, I was thinking like I didn't even remember I did that.
That's exactly what I was going for, Tim.
Yeah.
All right. We've touched kind of on this on like in our college years, high school, how we used to all talk to each other was through movie quotes. Mm-hmm. A lot of times, I mean, legit full conversations could be had without ever uttering a sentence that was original. They were all quotes. So I'm going to give you 4 choices here. More fun to quote from these movies. What's the most fun? I'm going to give you Wedding Crashers, Old School, Anchorman, Step Brothers.
Oh my God, I thought we were going to go baseball movies. Oh, more fun. Okay, say it again. I gotta wipe my mind and just because I had my mind set on baseball movies coming.
I threw you off. Well, more fun movie to quote from with your friends. Wedding Crashers, Old School, Anchorman, Step Brothers.
Well, I mean, you picked like 4 juggernauts.
I did.
I'm just pure instinct here. I'm trying to eliminate in my head. I'm thinking Wedding Crashers and Anchorman probably are number 1 and number 2. Oh man, excellent question. I'll go Anchorman.
Okay, I love it. Can't go wrong. All right. So you are a huge wrestling guy. I've always known you as a big wrestling guy. I think I remember your intro, maybe your second year at Lincoln Land, was some sort of wrestling. It was like something. It's like bow down to the masters, break it down. Is that right?
D-Generation X.
Yeah, D-Generation X. Okay, I always remembered that. All right. Who are some of your favorite wrestlers of all time?
Oh, goodness. Like when I was little, I liked the Ultimate Warrior like everybody else did.
Classic.
I was a big Bret the Hitman Hart guy.
Yeah.
Then obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin. I mean, as much as popular as The Rock is, I was never really a Rock guy. I was more of a Stone Cold guy.
Yeah, I remember you being a stone cold guy, and I remember you, man, putting together one of the best Ultimate Warrior Halloween costumes I've ever seen before.
Yeah, had the wig, had face paint,
Oh yeah,
chest paint, had a
all
nice
out.
yeah, cut the arms off of a robe, had painted white jeans and all that. Oh
Yeah,
my gosh, I got to tell this story really quick. So uh so we went up to Champaign that night. We were in at Lincoln Land,
yeah.
not of a legal age uh for partaking in bars and things like that, but I think in those big college towns you could get in if you were younger. You just had to be
19.
like an X on your hand or something.
Yeah.
So we all pile into a car. I'm not going to name all the people that were in there just in case they don't want to be named. But of the costumes, we had two pimps. We had, I think we had Bam Bam from the Flintstones.
Hmm.
We had Zorro. We had myself as the Ultimate Warrior, maybe one others. Uh, and we got pulled over on the way there. I don't at this the driver was not. We were being responsible. The driver was not drinking.
Yeah.
But I do remember for a split second we were like saw the lights and thought, are we going to pull away from this or not? Luckily, we pulled over and the cop comes and looks in the car, sees all of us idiots, and just decides to like let it go. So later we go out to the bars in Champaign or whatever. I just randomly link up with another guy who's dressed as Hulk Hogan. We enter a couple's Halloween costume and get second in a couple's Halloween costume contest. Didn't know each other whatsoever.
That's great. I love
Yeah.
stuff like that. That's the good stuff.
So one other guy that most people like is not like super mainstream, but I really loved. His name was Rob Van Dam. That was my other favorite.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Let's cure. What? Let's give your two favorite baseball movies.
I mean, just for like longevity and how they feel. I mean, I kind of lump Major League and Major League Two together. Can we
Yeah.
put those together?
Great.
So the
Yeah.
Major League series and Sandlot, like those are,
Fantastic.
like even when I've gone back through and I've listened to, even I've looked at lists and I've remembered the different movies and I like different aspects from them.
Yeah.
Man, it just doesn't. It's hard to top Sandlot and Major League, and I think that's
Yeah.
probably just because of the age we were at when they came out. Like we
Yeah.
were
Good call.
Major League had all the funny stuff,
Mhm.
and again, these are all my memories of these are we watched them on the buses when we went to
Yep.
away games.
Yeah.
Like that's where Sandlot was the funny things that you had from
Mhm.
being a kid. Major League was all the funny stuff that that was at the pro level or adults or older. So yeah,
Totally
hard
agree.
to compare those two.
What's cool about Major League is like I remember loving it when I was a kid. It stands up as an adult. Like I still think it's
Yeah.
funny as an adult. Like there's adult parts to it that are funny to me. So it's stood the test of time. Can't go wrong with either of those.
Summer Catch is a distant third.
Awful.
Hey, give it a chance.
Give it a chance. You are obviously a known Cub fan. Do you have like a favorite kind of era or like of the Cubs since you've been a fan?
Man, I got such a roller coaster scenario here. Like in 2003, when the whole Bartman thing. So I was a freshman at Lincoln Land. So like the experience was we knew who all those guys were, right? By name,
Yep.
watching lots of like in the playoffs. I remember that was kind of like right when the Red Sox were about to turn also. And it was kind of cool to watch the Red Sox too. And like they had some guys that were popular and all that. But man, for that 2003 run, I was surrounded by teammates and we would all cram into an apartment and we would watch the game. And it was like, in my mind, I was like, God, this is the pinnacle if the Cubs are going to do it. It was Sosa and Alou and Wood and Pryor and everything. Like, it was magical.
Yep.
And then, of course, the Bartman thing happened and that spiraled out of control. And I was like, oh, that, I hated it. And then
Well said.
Fast forward through lots of different seasons. Then we, obviously we get to 2016, and I always thought if the Cubs were ever going to win it, it was going to be like this underdog story where like they just got in as a wild card and they got hot and, and against all odds and they did it. But fast forward to 2016 and Cubs were like from wire to wire, one of the best teams all the way through.
Mm-hmm.
And so I go from thinking the Cubs were going to win it in 03, surrounded by teammates and in an apartment and all, staying up late with all your guys.
Oh, yeah.
And all that. fast forward to Game 7 of the 2016 World Series. I had put, all my kids were in bed. I had fallen asleep on the couch. I wake back up and a rain delay is split, and you have one of the most amazing Game 7s ever,
Yep.
and they win it. And I remember getting the last out and looking around and being like, man, this is my life. Like I'm a dad now. I'm grown up. Like I watched the Cubs win the World Series in my living room by myself late at night. It was kind of like this microcosm for like, I've grown, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it would have been amazing if they'd have won it in 03, but like this is my life now. You know what I mean? Like I'm not in that phase anymore. So yeah, the time around 03 was absolutely my favorite.
And a cool thing to piggyback off that, our next guest, Bo Hart, you and I have talked about this privately, but I went back on Baseball Reference. You can go back to actual game logs of a player and you can see who they faced every single game. And like, we're going to get to know, he faced Pryor and Wood. He got a couple of hits off Pryor. So we're going to get to know, I'm going to ask him, like, what was this like facing these guys? Like, he faced some absolute monsters of the game.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to hear what that even feels like. Like, what is it? A prime, Mark Pryor, Kerry Wood. You kidding me?
Yeah. Yes. Awesome. There's like, even now, if I pulled up a YouTube clip of Kerry Wood's 20 strikeout game, I may not break out into full like crying like that.
Special,
but I would get misty for sure.
All right. Let's say best baseball video game.
Woo. Best baseball video game. So growing up, obviously it was RBI on Nintendo. Then I went to Ken Griffey had a game on Nintendo 64 that was outstanding.
Yeah, he had a game on Super Nintendo that was really good too.
So the one on Nintendo 64, I'll never forget this. You could enter a home run derby, and then they only had 3 guys you could choose from. Griffey was one of them. Mm-hmm. They had another guy on there. His name was Can O Corn.
That's right. All the names were made up. They didn't have licensing. That's right.
And then but then the best game of all time was MLB. What's the one? The 2005 game.
MVP.
The MVP 2005. So I had it for So whenever I went to Weber, I got a laptop instead of bringing like a desktop computer with me. Yeah. And so I bought MVP 05 for PC, and I had like an Xbox controller that had a USB remote on it. And I remember. So I could play that anywhere. Like I could bring that to class. That's how much of a, the education was not stellar at Weber. I could bring it. I could set that thing up in class and play it if I wanted to. But so there was one trip that we took that we rented tour buses for this one trip that we took up to Alabama or something. And I remember playing, and of course back then you're on the team. So I custom created every player on our team for our roster.
Yeah,
so
you have to.
I tried to make them look similar, similar attributes, everything. And I just remember, I'm like, at the time I was like, this is as real as it gets. Video games will never top this.
That game, there's something really special about it. It was like MVP 04, 05, 06 was just fantastic. And then they switched to like,
I think it's the one with Ramirez, the one with Manny Ramirez on the cover.
Yeah, it's just so good. The gameplay is just amazing. It's so fun. Anyone can pick it up. It's fun to battle against your boys.
Yeah. Right. And now my kids play Xbox, and I get like, obviously I can still hang in Mario Kart.
Sure.
I'm kind of okay at like NBA 2K. Anything else I get smoked and it's stupid and I end up rage quitting.
All right. Next question. If you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself?
I don't even remember the response to that. That's the Harry Carey bit, isn't it?
Yeah. It was Will Ferrell on Saturday Night Live. He was like, hey, if you were a hot dog, would you eat yourself?
But again, that was like before social media and YouTube. Like all we had was SNL skits and movies to shape our comedic personalities.
Well, are you going to answer the question?
I was trying to be witty and like think if there was a next line to the thing, but like, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of hot dogs, gas station hot dogs. So yes.
Okay. Favorite model of metal bat. Favorite model of wood bat.
Oh man, metal bat. I had the blue and orange Air Attack 2.
Oh yeah.
That was the first time that I remember having like a bat that feeling like I had an advantage.
Yeah.
Was the Air Attack 2 I
Yep.
absolutely loved. I mean the drop 5 before the red lines and the
Those
Z2K.
red lines were lethal. Yeah. C
Yeah.
cores.
Yeah.
Great.
After that, I mean, I actually once they went to the connection where it had the two different pieces and the
Yep.
rubber in the middle or whatever, I kind of shifted more towards the Louisville bats at that time. The
Yeah.
Omahas,
Yep.
the gold, the silver ones. I kind of shifted towards those that I liked after that. Oh my God, wood bats! I was so bad with wood bats. I tried with gloves, without gloves, with pine tar. I was absolutely drilling out the end of them, making them hollow, capping them back on there. I was so bad with wood bats. I could never find like I never found anything that was balanced the way I wanted it.
Yeah.
Uh, but for me, it was the ones that had the bigger. Man, I wish the axe bats would have come around when I was still
Oh yeah.
playing. I
Interesting.
think so anything that had the big wide knob on it that provided some counterweight was good
Yeah.
for me.
I remember those got kind of popular around our time. More fun hitting lightning bugs with a wiffle ball bat or golf balls with a metal bat.
More fun, golf ball.
Yeah. So fun, right? Just seeing it disappear like that.
Yes.
Yeah. Like is that what it feels like to be Mark McGuire or something like that? Like,
I don't know.
Yeah. Great pastimes. Better baseball movie pitcher, Charlie Sheen or Kevin Costner?
It's attitude for me. So and my son's name is Vaughn, so I got to go with Shane.
I love it. What were some of the intro musics that you used as a batter walking up?
So I only had two. I had Degeneration X, and then I had Korn Make Me Bad, which kind of had like a little different, like a little eerie type sound at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
Again, that's another thing at Weber. Like no intro music. Like come
What
on.
the heck?
Right.
That's Bush.
Yeah. I don't remember. Do we have? We would have had some with rifles.
I don't remember intro music with rifles. I mean, like it was not the best ran program by the time I got to them.
I'm trying to think. We did have them my second year when we played at Lanphier Ballpark.
Okay.
And the only reason I remember, there was a pitcher, I think he was from Michigan State, Jeff Gerby, I think his name was.
Oh yeah, I remember Gerby.
Oh, you do?
He played pro ball with Tigers.
Was he Michigan State?
Yep.
So when he would come in, he had that that game over, flip, game over. And I was like, man, that's an awesome closer song.
That is. Jeff Gerby was good. He was a good ball player. Who did you look up to locally coming up?
Oh gosh. Plains guys. Starting in Plains had a really good run starting in like 95. And there's another. So his name is TJ Frazee. He actually coaches at Plains now, and his dad was the athletic director. He was everything that I wanted to be. I mean, so I was 7 years younger, but thought that, he was a celebrity and I was just a child, right? 7 years now doesn't seem like that big of a difference, but and then it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was point guard in basketball, center fielder in baseball. He was absolutely everything that I wanted my life to be. But yeah, any of those guys I looked up to. I certainly, once we got older, had respect for a lot of people. But yeah, in our tiny little town of Pleasant Plains, I remember that those guys in basketball won the county tournament for the first time in like 70 years or 60 years for Plains. And I thought they were the greatest thing ever.
Best infield or outfield arm that you ever played with, guy?
Ooh, best infield or outfield arm? Infield is hard for me to. I mean, I always thought Dusty threw hard, but I'm sure just like velocity wise, somebody probably threw a little bit harder. But this is an obscure name that only like a very few amount of people that know me would know. My first year at Weber,
I remember you talking about some guy down there that had an absolute bazooka on him.
Yeah, so his name was Jeremy Schaefer. And he absolutely had a big league arm. I mean, he was he could probably throw 92 or 93 from the outfield. I'd never seen a ball sail like that. But didn't really have his mind on baseball. Had an absolute cannon for an arm. So yeah, that's the one that sticks out to me. But man, I'm thinking there's got to be somebody with the rifles that threw. I mean, I guess I'll go with him. Well, hell, Eric
BJ.
Gum.
Yeah, Eric Helm.
Eric from the outfield threw really well.
Yeah. All right. Let's go with most power of a guy that you played with.
Got to be Dusty.
Got to be Dusty. I figured that was
There's so okay, so one of these guys I played with my first year at Weber, the guy, his name was BJ Ubri, I think his last name was. This guy was legitimately 25 years old, looked like Mark McGuire. There was a couple of balls that he hit that he was an absolute grown man.
Yeah.
Didn't have the talent level of Dusty.
But every once in a while could run into one.
Yeah, he was huge. I mean, he was like, 6'4", 240. He was McGuire.
Yeah. Who are some of the best pitchers that you faced kind of locally coming up that you remember that stood out? It's a couple.
Trying to think of who else. You know what's funny? The soft tossing lefties that could locate always gave us trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, Eric was always tough. Eric Gum, anytime we played Petersburg and he threw against us, that was very tough. I wish I had some names for you, but it was always like I said, I think I've told you this before. It's like, I don't remember facing Crowey at Virginia. Yeah. I don't remember, even when we would play the CS8 schools. Yeah, I wish I had a better answer for you this, other than it was honestly, whenever we would come up against a lefty that could locate and change speeds, he got us all out front. Yeah. And rolled us over and lots of outs.
What glove of choice?
Oh, I call it the Y2000, but the Juno A2000 that had the Y on the web.
Yep.
I don't know how I came across two of them. I think I got one for myself, and then my brother-in-law just happened to have one that he was going to get for softball and gave it to me. So from
remember you had two. Yeah, you always had two.
Yeah, all the way. So for every college season, every summer season, I had two identical gloves that were broken in the exact same. And like I said, going back to the superstition stuff, like I would rotate gloves based on, what I felt that day.
Who were a couple of the most talented guys that you played with?
Talented guys? I mean, I always thought that Dusty could do everything. So like Bo Gum could do everything that I couldn't in high school. Good eye, very smart, nothing intimidated him. I feel like he never swung at a bad pitch. He's a little bit faster than me on the bases. So he was, and he battled injuries all the way through. But like I never would have gotten my opportunities if Bo wouldn't have gotten injured. And we're really good friends. I was best man in his wedding. He was best man in mine. We talk all the time still. I'm trying to think of ones that like you wouldn't think of. Like I guess when I think we beat Eric Gum's name to death on this podcast, but
we love saying Eric Gum.
Yeah, he was just he was so good at everything and so fun to play with. Let me think of some Rifles guys that. I mean, Grover, my first year with the Rifles. So Grover Benton was somebody that I played with at Weber, but I met him the first season with the Rifles. So he had just come he went to go play football at East Carolina University. And the story that he told me was first game, night game on ESPN, he catches a punt, is going to return it and gets a helmet right in his chest. And he's like, oh, I'm done with this. So he literally so he told me he went out of that. This is a body type that I'd never seen before. His chest and his arms and his muscles were so big. He's only about 5'8", but he was probably 5'8", 220.
Wow.
And the absolute fastest that I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There were a couple of balls that he hit, like if it bounced more than twice on the left side of the infield, he was safe.
Wow.
I think he won the batting title that year in the league, average wise. But just a level of speed I'd never seen before. So, I mean, that was pretty good. I mean, I think of, I'm sure there were lots of guys that we faced that I can't think of. The one name that sticks out to me was a pitcher from, was it Flagler or SCAD? I think it was SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design. There's the name for you. But his name was Ryan Pope. I'll have to look him up and see, if he actually ever did anything. But he's the most overpowered that I ever remember facing.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. if you were going to win one of these, would you rather win a WWE championship belt or a World Series ring?
Well, I mean, full disclosure, I know that you don't win a WWE championship belt, that it is scripted. I am not like I'm not like delusional that I think these are real competitions. Um, oh my gosh. I mean, if you have the WWE title, I mean, you're carrying the company.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a very I know it's silly to not say a World Series title, but it's just like I think there are also with the World Series, you got to share that with like 25, 28 other guys.
Yeah. Well said.
I think I got to be the champion.
Would you have rather been a professional wrestler or a professional baseball player?
It's hard for me not to say wrestler.
Yeah.
It's hard not to.
Can you speak? I know you've got a bunch of memorabilia and belts, and you just bought this like inflatable thing for front of your house.
Yeah.
Can you speak on some of the fun memorabilia stuff you have, wrestling wise? Like,
oh my gosh. So like, I went through before the digital wave came in. I went through this period where you could online. WWE would put out like these packages where you could get like a DVD and a T-shirt combo. So I had a nice little period where I was racking up lots of T-shirts. I've got a nice DVD collection and all that.
oh man.
So there's, I mean that. So I only actually have 3 belts, and I know that's 3 more than most normal adult males have. But you'd think that I have there are some people that have 20, 30, 40, and they display them and all that. But for me, what was really cool was through my job, I got a very close access to WrestleMania 32 when it was in Dallas. I played an integral role in helping plan it. What's different than that, so like whenever we had Super Bowl or Final Four or international soccer or whatever, when you're on the tourism side, like sometimes you get access to like some sponsors or some legends or whatever, but that's it. Like the people that are there to perform and be on the field are not available to you. Like I'm not mingling with the Super Bowl teams or the Final Four teams. When WWE comes in, it's completely opposite. All of their superstars are available to you that entire week, and you have to program activities for them.
That's awesome.
So, like, these names aren't going to mean anything to anybody unless you're a fan. But, like, I got to golf with Dean Ambrose. His stage name was Dean Ambrose at the time. Got to golf with him. I went. There was a dinner evening function that I got like to hang out with Cesaro and Sheamus and The Miz and Dolph Ziggler.
Oh wow!
Big Show was there. Lots of the females as well. I met John Cena at a business summit type thing. I got to meet Stone Cold backstage at AT&T Stadium and talk to him for a little while.
Oh, what a moment!
When we were doing our on sale party, I was down on the field at Cowboy Stadium with like Billy Gunn kicking field goals with him. There was a guy named Corbin that was, bouncing off the ropes, getting them ready. And it was just like, for a fan, those things were like super cool to be really close with them.
Oh, yeah.
And that was got to meet Stephanie McMahon in the suite at the American Airlines Center during one of the Raw or SmackDown events. Like that was another thing about my job is that they gave me a badge to the American Airlines Center where the Mavs and Stars play because I did so many site visits there with potential clients. So it's like at any given moment, I had the same I had an all access badge that I could walk into the building at any time, any Mavs or Stars game, concert, WWE show. Because I primarily used it we had to entertain people in our suite. So like the bad side of it was on random Tuesday nights, I had to stay in Dallas till like 7:30 at night, go greet our group at a Stars game, say hello, and then not get home until 9 o'clock. Like the glory side of it was, I could walk in at any time. And even if the Mavs were doing shoot around, like I never abused it, but having the access was cool. And I got to go to a lot of events. The bad side of it was it pulled me away from family quite often.
Yeah, that must have been an awesome experience getting to meet. I mean, I know you're a huge Stone Cold guy, so that you got to meet him. I think I remember you posting a picture of him. That's just being like,
I posted on March 16th, 316 day every single year.
I can't imagine how jacked up you must have been in that moment to meet him. It made me smile to see you post that.
I was like, it was right at it was right at the, well, so like, uh, it was kind of like right at this intersection where I wanted to be professional because it was a professional setting, but like
Yeah.
also I'm not going to miss the opportunity to
Yeah.
get a photo with Stone Cold. So it was like, how do I, but you know, so we waited backstage where he did a couple of interviews. Then when he came off, you know, we talked to him and, you know, got the picture and all that. But that was kind of what's difficult. I met a lot of celebrities in a professional setting that
Yeah.
a lot I did get pictures with, but a lot I didn't, you know, because it was kind of, the fan in me wanted to capture that moment. The professional in me wanted to be like, no, act like you've done this before. Like, don't make a big deal out of it.
Yeah, I totally agree. What what was the hardest year in baseball for you?
Hardest year? Hardest year was, oh man, do I say the first year of Rifles was very challenging because I got off to a slow start. There
Mhm.
were a lot of games in a short amount of time, and it was over my head. I wasn't ready. Um, there were, you know, the competition level that first year was still pretty high, um, and I just wasn't. You know what I mean? Like that I probably the roster spot shouldn't have fallen to me, you know, but it did. That one, it was very difficult to get thrown into that, and then if you don't have anybody there to like help bring you out of that confidence, you know, give you that confidence boost and get you out of it.
Yeah.
Man, I will say this though, the coach that year was, his name was Chris Barney,
Yeah.
and we kind of teased and made fun of him a lot because he was kind of like a short squatty guy that was a little quirky, that took the game way more seriously than the rest of us were. But looking back now, like I actually did learn a lot and pick up a lot of good habits from Barney,
Yeah.
even though he had this damn scenario where he would give, he had three different sets of signs and the indicator was different based on what inning you were in. Like that drove me nuts. Uh,
Yeah.
that was, so that summer was the most challenging for me. But then probably the most disappointing was that first year at Weber because of the hurricanes
Yeah.
and knocking everything down and losing a whole fall and you know, just not feeling like Central Illinois baseball.
What was your favorite year in baseball then? Most fun?
I mean, the ending, obviously winning a state title in 2000 was amazing, and you can't replace that.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, other than that, probably my freshman year at Lincoln Land. Going back to a little bit on the basketball piece, if I
Yeah.
can pause for a minute and tell this. So we had just won a state championship in 2002 at Plains, and I loved basketball. Maybe I knew that my future was in baseball because I wouldn't have projected as far in basketball, but I think I probably enjoyed it, you know,
Yeah.
a little bit more there because of the success and all that. So we went. We go to Lincoln Land for the fall, and we have our fall season. And then I went to the Williamsville Holiday Tournament to go watch Plains play that winter break. And the Lincoln Land assistant coach was there, and he saw me there, and he just started catching up. And he's like, you miss it, don't you? And I'm like, yeah, I do. And he's like, why don't you come play for us? And I'm like, what do you like? I'm there on a baseball scholarship. What do you mean? He's like, we're facing two guys with injury and two that are going to be ineligible. We could use the help.
Interesting.
And my dumb ass, I didn't even talk to Bull about this.
He's like, yeah, I'll do it.
I did. I was like, you know what? I want to. Yeah. He's like, because of course he said all the things that a recruiter and a coach would tell you, right? He's like, it won't interfere with baseball. We know we'll give you all the time. We know that you're there for baseball. We just want help, this, that, and the other. So I like, this is how naive I was. Didn't even go talk to the athletic director and my head coach who actually offered me the scholarship and you know, was like a mentor and dad to everybody.
Yeah.
So I just roll right in there, and he finds out from the basketball coach that I've now started, because we were on a little bit of break from baseball until we started up on winter
Yep.
training. So I jump right in there, and of course, my egotistical self thought that I was just going to come right in there and be, you know, a little stud. And I immediately come up with all guys that are better, you know, better than me and had been, you know, training and playing and practicing and all that. So I quickly found out that the pace was much higher
Yeah.
than I anticipated it to be. You know, this was not class A, swing it around, dump it in, shoot an open jumper type thing. So anyway, for probably it was about 2 months because I went in and I started practicing with them and played a couple of games, and then baseball started. So uh, I was literally doing baseball in the morning, like baseball conditioning in the morning, like 5:30 a.m., 6 a.m.,
Remember those?
having classes, then doing our baseball practice at 3:30. Then I would have all my bags packed. I would get on the bus at like 4:30, go to play an away game, get home, late at night, not sure when I had time to do homework, but then
Yeah.
get up and start the whole thing over. Like I burned out it was
Oh
way too much.
gosh.
I burned out
Yeah.
very quickly. And then the other thing is that I was used to winning, and we lost like all 8 games or 9 games that I was there for.
Yeah.
And Bull had told me, he's like, when he finally pulled me in, he's like, listen, uh, if this is something you want to do, I don't want to stop you from doing it. He's like, but if you're with that team, you will be with that team. And when it's over, then you can join us. So what that meant was I was going to have to miss the New Orleans trip.
Oh
And I
no.
was like, well, that's
it.
now
It's a wrap.
my dumb ass has gotten me into a situation that where, but again, like, so then of course once I had enough of it, and I was like, listen, this two sports is too much, and I don't, I don't want to miss any baseball. So then I went into Coach Jones and I told him, look, this was, I came in to help, and this was an honest feedback. I was like, you guys brought me in to help. Since I've come in here, I don't know, I'm playing between, 10, 12 minutes a game, 14 minutes a game or whatever. And I go, we've lost every game. I go, I don't really think that I'm helping. And there were some other guys on the bench that weren't playing because I came in.
Yeah.
I was kind of middle of the pack. I think I was probably second off the bench or something. But the reality of it was that I was ready to get started with baseball, and I didn't want to miss the New Orleans trip. Now,
Yeah.
what makes that freshman year baseball so fun for me was I was in the absolute best shape of
Oh
my
yeah.
life.
Sure.
Oh yeah, I was super fast, strong, everything, and it paid off on the field too. I
Yeah, you
think
got a
I
strong year.
stole, yeah, I think I stole 26 out of 28 bases that year.
Yeah.
Compared to the following year, I only stole 14 out of 28. Bull still thought that I was bloody fast and kept sending me, but I wasn't.
I love that, man. Let's just say, I ask this to everyone, like, most talented guy you played with that never played pro ball. We're gonna go gum here.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same answer as everybody else. I mean, there's there's T Scott made it, Walt made it, Crowley made it.
Well, they made it though. Yeah, so they
Yes,
don't
that's
count.
what I mean. I'm trying to think of if there was a guy that I put in that bucket that didn't. I mean, I honestly, just to be candid, I think Eric was better than all of them. Yeah, just some aren't
Yeah.
cut out to follow the path, and some are.
Yeah.
I mean, we've played him up to be like. I mean, we've played him up to be like this world beater, but
I know.
I mean, legitimately, he was MVP of our conference that first year. Like he was something like maybe 7-4, 8-4, 9-4 as a pitcher, tons of strikeouts. Had 12 home runs. Like this is not like I don't remember him ever throwing a bullpen. Like he played center field every day, batted third for us, and he just took the ball every fourth day and just did it. And still was 88 to 90 with some movement, a little bit wild. Yeah, I just think if the worlds aligned differently, he was had all the competitor and had all the makeup to do it.
I love that. Who are some of your favorite guys to compete against coming up in the area you just loved facing?
Ooh, see, I'm the wrong one to ask because I liked beating people. So like I like like I always get like opposite of what PJ would say, like he wanted to face the Helix and all that. Like I did not mind having the day going in knowing or thinking that I had a good chance at going 4 for 4. I think for us being so because we were a Class A school, I always loved playing the CS8 teams. Just for no other reason than to think that we could compete with the Springfield schools.
Yep.
Now that worked in baseball, wouldn't have worked in basketball, and we never even played in basketball. That's a different level of athlete, different type of game. But on the baseball side, I would say I always enjoyed playing the Springfield schools. There's I mean, it makes for good conversation now to say that anytime we could play Teutopolis and beat them, that was a big deal for us, just because there was history there.
Mhm.
But at the time, I didn't want the smoke. You know what I mean? I wanted to play the comfortable game that we were going to win. By the 10-run rule. That's just who I was.
Looking back on your career, what are you most proud of?
Probably finding a way into the lineup everywhere that I went.
Oh, love that. Yeah.
Um, the 3 years at the Rifles, I kind of found my way into the lineup by process of elimination. We just didn't have enough guys. Like I don't, I don't have any, dreams that I was good. Although my second year I did have a good year, and I did technically make the All-Star team that second year. I started out really well. Um, but yeah, I think I found a way. No matter what the cast of characters were, the rosters, how great they looked in BP, what their 40 times were or anything. I always found my way
Mhm.
consistently into the lineup. I played everywhere that I
I,
went.
I love that. Looking back, would you have done anything different in your career? How you approach things?
With my perspective now,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, yes, I
And you've
would
kind of
take it.
touched on that. You've talked about
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were
yeah.
like a
I was
play
a
hard.
I was a play hard, not a work hard.
Yep. So you would have changed that, how you worked.
Yeah, I mean, and it's real. Like looking back now, there are, I went, I was a first in line behind the leader.
Yep.
Like whoever the leader was, I will be first in line. I'll do what you do. So I also think that's why I did so well at Lincoln Land my first year, is that Jr. set such a good tone, and I could follow everything that he did. Like he did so much T work to the point that I was like, I thought that why are you doing this?
Yeah.
But it obviously would work for him, and then I would go, him and Matt Lusk would go work out after practice. And I just didn't have that in me. Like I just, I wanted to go back home and, I wanted to go eat and,
Yeah.
get on the computer and just do other things and relax. I didn't have that extra gear that the guys that made it to the next level had.
What so do any of your family and friends treat you different now that you're on like a big time podcast and famous?
Oh my gosh, they ought to. I haven't done I haven't done a good job enough of positioning it that way. No, what's funny is when like sometimes I'll be texting you and stuff like that, and she'll be asking like what's going on. I'm like, oh, I'm just texting Blake about like podcast stuff, and I think at the very beginning of it, I don't think she, first of all, it's not like I tell her that that I'm on these episodes, and she don't care to hear. She hears enough of me. She don't care to hear any of that stuff.
Yeah.
But there is kind of a feeling that like this is a little bit of this is my escape from the crazy home life. You know
Oh,
what I mean?
yeah, for sure.
Because I don't know, none of my buddies that I played with are here. Like I'm not meeting up with my buddies on Friday or Saturday and having a couple beers and talking old stories. Like this is
Oh,
my time to talk
well,
baseball. My old.
well said. Part of the one of the reasons I started this too was that I don't do a lot for myself. I don't have a ton of a social life, and both my wife and my parents encouraged me to do something that was kind of like for me, and that was my personal thing, and that was part of how this was born. So yeah, I've wondered what Katie thinks about this when you're like, oh, I'm just texting Blake again, about something random, like some fact baseball thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No, I would if the time comes though, and I need to fill out a resume somewhere. I may possibly put on that I'm like a special contributor to a podcast. Co-producer would be going too far. Maybe special assistant.
I can vouch for you if you want to put co-producer. We can pump up your stats a little
Yeah,
bit.
I don't know when I would need to put that on there, but I'll keep it in the back of my mind.
Did you have any funny rituals or superstitions or anything like that?
Oh God, so many.
I thought you
So
did.
many.
I remember you did. Yeah.
Oh, everything to the I mean, going back to the walk-up music, there were certain times that if I stepped into the box before they got to a certain part in the song, like my mind wasn't right. Like I
Yeah.
purposefully stayed out of the box and
I remember that.
I
You
would take
did.
fake warm-up
You
swings just to
did. I
delay it.
remember
Yeah.
that shit. Oh my gosh.
Everything mattered.
Yeah.
Which batting glove I put on first, how the tape was put on the bat. Oh my goodness. It wasn't like, I don't think it was like OCD type things where I had to count the time of things that I touched things, but like everything was. I think the reason why I asked if Casey was ever tortured by chasing that one amazing game that he had and how he felt, I was tortured by that. Like I
Yeah.
was always thinking to myself, I'm like, how do I get back to that moment to lock back into that zone to when I was doing that, and then
Yeah.
and obviously, work harder, get stronger, you take more reps. All those are the obvious answers. But to me, it was just like some mysterious funk that the worlds needed to align so that I could get back into that space. All the, all the normal ones, don't step on lines.
Yeah.
All those things are there. I'm trying to think if there was like a certain type of socks or belt or hat or thing. Oh, I used to write shit in my hat all the time.
Oh yeah.
If you,
Absolutely.
you remember that?
Oh yeah.
So underneath the bills of my hat,
Yep.
I started with one thing, and then eventually it ended up into tons of other stuff in there. Um, so I'm sure so many people got tired of me whistling from the outfield. That was something I learned at Rifles too.
Right.
You remember Alex Blagojevich?
Yeah.
So he taught me how to whistle really loud using your fingers.
Hmm.
And for legit for 2 straight days out in the outfield, all I did was practice trying to figure out how to whistle. And then once I finally got it, like I'm sure it annoyed everybody to this day. Here, this is completely unplanned. So I coach my kids' teams and stuff like that now. Yesterday, I went up to our rec center to go pay my 8-year-old's basketball registration for
Yeah.
winter. There's a mom in front of me that turns around, kind of gives me a side eye. She's like, "I remember you." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And she's like, "Phil Jackson." And at first, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, "Damn, she thinks I'm a good coach." And then I go, "What does that mean?" She goes, always out there whistling." And I just started laughing. I was like, I do though, because like it gets so loud in those gyms, and the kids don't pay attention to me. So I'm out there, whistling as hard as I can to get their attention.
Yeah.
So,
Man. All right. I've got to actually go. I've got a few more questions. Maybe we can wrap them up next
okay.
time, but let me finish one question here with you, or two. And then I gotta go. So I gotta go get ready. We're being a whole Frozen cast today, the whole family.
Oh
So
yeah, go get
Anna,
it.
Elsa, Kristoff, all that stuff. So I really wanted to be Olaf, but they made me be Kristoff. So anyway, how do you feel about the standing that Sammy Sosa is with the Cubs right now? Do you feel like that could ever be
I hate
healed?
it. I hate it.
Yeah, it sucks, right?
Yeah, but I also like, I think Sammy's kind of a little bit different type of guy, but
Yeah,
just man, it feels hypocritical on all sides, whatever guys were doing, I don't believe that teams didn't know about it, and then
sure.
to take such a hard stand and like
Yeah,
keep guys out of the Hall of Fame and all that. I don't know. I'm just not a. I'm sure guys have strong feelings that may have lost their job to it or were competing against them, but like, from the outside looking in, all those memories are still real to me. All
yeah,
of his accomplishments are still real.
yeah,
I 100% feel like you should celebrate your heroes.
yeah.
I just, I feel like there's a lot of scumbags probably in real life that are in the Hall of Fame. Uh,
Absolutely.
and you're going to draw the line, here. Yeah, I hate that. Yeah,
Good
I
point.
wish it was different.
Yeah, that's man. We could probably sit on that topic for a long time.
Yeah.
Last thing, you've obviously done well for yourself in the sales field. Can you give any kind of any tip or secret for success for someone coming up in sales? Anything that's been valuable to you? Some sort of a lesson?
Oh man, get over the fear of what your feeling is going to be. The more times that you get rejected, the more times you hear no. A lot of what keeps you from getting into new things is just the fear of how you'll feel.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, you gotta have thick skin and a short memory.
Well said, man. Well, this has been really fun, man. I've just thrown you some questions here, some funny ones, some serious ones here, more of your perspective. This is always really fun for me. I know a lot of people text me like, "When's the next Out of Left coming?" And some people are enjoying these, so it's not just me and you talking. So
I'm sure they wanted to hear about, all my accomplishments, all my great hits and stolen bases and fieldings, and please, if you remember any of those, please send them in so that we can all reminisce.
this is so fun for me just to chop it up here with you baseball wise as well. So thanks for coming on again. Like I said, our next guest is Bo Hart. There's a lot more coming, so thank you for just sitting here and chopping up with me, brother. I appreciate your time. And as always, send me that $20.
Yep.
And we appreciate you. And I'm
Support
sure I'll text you within the hour.
Yeah. All right. See you, man.
See you, buddy.